consciousness does not require a savior, but rather, raw consciousness requires only knowledge of oneself, and the power to access it. Remember this, as we unlock an even greater gnosis from beyond the veil.
From the Pacific Northwest, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. I'm Chris Gio. I will be taking you beyond the veil on a BTV hangout this evening. I'm joined this time by my lovely wife and co-pilot, Mrs. Gio.
Good evening, everyone.
And we have a last-minute show that we just decided to go live with, something that's been on my mind for a while. We have some awesome comments in our Facebook group, which admittedly we haven't... Well, hold on. Before I get into that, let me make a disclaimer here. If you're watching this on the archive, we have had YouTube glitches where the audio and video goes out of sync. There is nothing we can do about it on our end. As you can tell, everybody listening live, it's all in sync, but that's what happens. I've been going back and forth with YouTube. We've changed some settings. We've done some other stuff to try to resolve the problem, but I think I'm going to have to make this disclaimer on every one of the shows, and it's hurting our channel. It's making us look bad because our latest videos are out of sync. Anyways, all right, so the Facebook group. If you're not hanging out at the Facebook group, if you're on Facebook, you can go to Facebook/groups/BTV portal, and that will take you to let you connect with some really cool people. Admittedly, we have not been engaging in the group as much as we should be, and I want to start changing that a little bit. It's just, between all the projects that we have, we're just so spread out that it's very difficult to do that. And we stopped streaming on Facebook for a couple of reasons. We find the YouTube quality to be a whole lot better than the Facebook quality, the experience to be a lot better, and there's a few people on Facebook that have been causing issues, and it sucks, but it is what it is. So that's why we're kind of gearing more towards the YouTube platform here, even though there are problems with YouTube. So really quick, I want to give you an update. I had LASIK surgery about a month ago. When I got a checkup, the right eye is 20/20. Left eye is 20/30, so they couldn't get the left eye as perfect as the right eye. The left eye was always still a little bit blurrier, but before it was so blurry that I couldn't see the screen if I was just looking at my left eye. So far, so good. It seemed to have worked. I was really apprehensive about this, and people were asking me because they want to try it as well, and I can tell you firsthand, it did work. They wanted to live stream it on Facebook. And I was like, no live streaming. We're the only ones that do the live streams. But in hindsight, I wish we would have, because it was an interesting experience. And a month later, I can tell you everything's okay. Just a few halos around around objects, like I have on the phone. You know how you have the little thing where you put in your little shape and it's got a bunch of dots. Those little dots have some halos. Headlights have halos, things like that. At first they were huge, but they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So they said that can happen for about 4 to 6 months after the fact. But if you have done psychedelics and you're a seasoned psychonaut, then it's nothing that you're not used to, and all is smooth. So the other thing that I noticed today is I've been going hardcore at the gym, as I've talked about briefly, and I have not been eating at all, even though I should be eating a lot more, but I've been eating like once a day, and it's really helped. However, I haven't had a good carb fix in a long time, so we went out for pizza today because I figured, hey, you know what? I haven't eaten carbs in a long time. And once I ate the carbs, then it started to turn into sugar, and I found myself getting hungrier again quicker. So I am pretty sure that cutting the sugar out and cutting the carbs really leads to the suppression of appetite, and it's really important. But it's important also to get some carbs. So I just wanted to put that out there for people that are still trying to find a path, but you don't realize the importance of the sugar and cutting the sugar. And, a little bit of sugar is okay. But we get sugar from all kinds of stuff, breads and pastas and places that we don't even think of it. I drink all my coffee black, and I learned to do this a long time ago for 2 reasons. The way I see it is, if I'm going to buy expensive coffee, which I buy like really expensive organic coffee, I want to taste it. I don't want to taste sugar. I don't want to taste milk. I don't want to taste any of that. But most importantly, coffee is actually, it has a lot of health benefits when you're not putting a bunch of sugar and stuff in it. So if you can learn to drink your coffee black, I think it's going to make a huge difference. And if you're anything like me, you drink your coffee, 5 times a day on some days. So a little health update going on there. And I'll try to make a couple of little updates as this journey progresses through wherever it's going to lead to. I don't know. It's just something I just, it sparked in me about 6 weeks ago. And so far the results are great. So I'll try to keep you updated, but I don't want to make it a 20-minute segment every single show. So that's that.
Well, I'm extremely proud of you. Just,
Oh, thank you.
Just wanted to say that because it takes a lot of self-discipline and it takes balls to make this much change in your physical appearance and your physical lifestyle in such a short amount of time.
So thank you. It's I wish I would have done it sooner. That's all I can say. And that's why I'm hoping that we are encouraging people out there, as a matter of fact. I mean, we had a caller call in and he said, hey, I started going to the gym because you started talking about it. I used to work out. I stopped. You started talking about it. That prompted me to go back. So obviously the words are not in vain and they're reaching people, which is the whole point of Beyond the Veil. Beyond the Veil is about trying to help people improve their lives. But sometimes the improvement of life doesn't necessarily add up with the zeitgeist out there. A lot of people have all of these different solutions and answers and things like that, but really what it comes down to is balance. I was talking about this on Facebook yesterday, and I was talking about how the key to life is, the mystery to life is living balanced. And it's all about finding the balance. Even the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which I want to go into some of them tonight. I don't want to read them in full, but I do want to dedicate a few shows where we do one tablet, talk about it, and then another tablet, talk about it, another tablet, talk about it. So I kind of feel funny skipping to the end as far as these tablets go, because I want to go to the 13th tablet. That number 13 again is popping up. 13 tablets. I want to skip to that one because it really talks about a lot of the stuff that we talk about here on Beyond the Veil. And admittedly, I have not read the Emerald Tablets in full. Now, I have fallen asleep on multiple nights listening to the audio version of them and just hoping that they would subconsciously seep into my brain, and maybe they have. Maybe that's the reason why I'm finding a lot of the same things that we talk about here on Beyond the Veil in the Emerald Tablets in places that I haven't read, or at the very least haven't read and really digested, because a lot of times when somebody sends me something like this, I just kind of skim all through it and that's it, and then just kind of find a couple of parts that just kind of stick out, just for the sole purpose of time. I mean, that's the biggest obstacle is time. I just have so much on my plate. But our message has been that, number one, all of the information, all of the gnosis lays inside of you. Mm-hmm. It's in your heart. And the Emerald Tablets reaffirm this as well. There's one particular phrase where Thoth says, if you want to know the hidden knowledge, and I'm paraphrasing here, if you want to find the answers to the hidden knowledge, look in your heart where the wisdom is bound. And I'm like, wow, this is exactly what we've been promoting over the last several years, right there in the tablets. And I came into my awakening, which was August of 2016, the real awakening, not the truther awakening that we were on before, the New Age awakening or any of that, but the awakening of the raw consciousness, the realization that we have a consciousness that has been overlaid with program after program after program. And by removing those programs, whether they be indoctrination through school and things like that, television, or traumas and experiences, because those are all programs too, removing all those programs from ourselves, we find our foundation, which is our raw consciousness, which is where the information and the gnosis comes from. Everything we talk about on Beyond the Veil here, unless we say otherwise, and I'm always really careful, and I try really hard to say, this is not gnosis, this is just my speculation, or this is my theory, or this is what I read somewhere. But unless I say that it's coming from the heart, and it's coming from that knowledge and wisdom that is locked inside all of us. The only thing that we need to do is get the key and open that up. And I realized that the Great Pyramid activation that we did back in May, for those of you that haven't been following, you can go to resettingthematrix.com to get the full story on that. But the ayahuasca ceremony that we did inside of the King's Chamber to access the 13th density and make some updates to the system dropped a veil from the human consciousness that was there before. And people are having first and second and third ayahuasca experiences and getting gnosis that it took us 10 years to unlock. And that's why I love taking calls from everybody so much, because we get to hear about these deep, deep, deep experiences. And I'm a little bit envious. I had to work hard to unlock all of this. And it's like so easy now for people to unlock it. It's so easy, because that veil has been dropped. And a lot of people have been pointing to that time in May when we did all of this, and they said, hey, look, there was a big shift there. A lot of people don't know what the shift was, but there was an unlocking of the portal and a reset and rebalance of the machine, which started to expel the darkness that has infested the matrix. And going back and reading through the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, Thoth talks about the invaders that came in here. And essentially what we expelled within the Great Pyramid, thank you for the donation, Critical Nexus, you rock. What we expelled in the Great Pyramid were these invaders that Thoth was talking about. These things come from another dimension. They're not supposed to be in this dimension. I call them grays. Other people call them reptilians or whatever, but I think the reason that there's so much confusion surrounding these things is the fact that they're shapeshifters. And as I've said before, they shapeshift into anything, including Palladians, Arcturians, bluebirds, so on and so forth. And reading through the tablets, Thoth never once says, hey, go over here and go talk to the Palladians and they'll give you all the information that you need, or go talk to the bluebirds, or go talk to any of that. Thoth was very, very specific. The knowledge lays within you, and you have to unlock it. You have the keys to the lock that is around your heart, and you have to go into that area and bring out the information. So, really quick, I want to talk about some of the things we've been talking about on Beyond the Veil that some people have been kind of raising an eyebrow at. A few people have made a couple of comments, but I can tell that some of the things are eyebrow raising. And I just wanted to kind of explain a little more eloquently where I'm coming from. So I've been having a lot of fun with BTV lately. It hasn't been as serious as it used to be, especially with these BTV hangouts. We've been talking about MDMA. We've been talking about sex. We've been talking about sex magic. I even played on the last show some music that I had written back in like the year 2000, which was all, 3D music, weed, bitches and money, things like that. And laughing ultimately at myself and how far I've come from where I was before. But my point of talking about all of this stuff is to, number one, illustrate that the journey and the path it's a journey and a path. And it's one that we all walk. So we didn't just all of a sudden just at the snap of a finger, just boom, that's it, unlocked. I mean, I've been doing radio for 10 years, and it wasn't until August of 2016 that I unlocked the raw consciousness part of myself. So it's a journey and a progression, and it doesn't matter where you are on your journey. It doesn't matter where you come from, as long as you're taking those steps and walking your Dharma and unlocking that information as you go. But most importantly, I realized that the balance to life is really just that. It's being able to balance all elements of the human experience, which includes sex. It includes being an omnivore. It includes going out and having fun and having a drink. It includes working on your spirituality. It includes going out and working so you can generate revenue, so you can generate funds and things like that. Everything is based on intention. So I made the example on Facebook the other day. There's this girl that I know. She's about 23 years old. I've been talking to her for about 4 years, and she's really worked on herself so hardcore that it's been amazing, especially somebody at a younger age like that. Because at that age, I mean, I was, as I illustrated, music, weed, bitches, money, smoking weed, and, doing all that. I was just partying. That's all I was doing. We had a caller call in the other day, too, 17 years old, saying, hey, look, I want to use ayahuasca. I want to use ayahuasca with intention, etc. I met a couple of 20-year-olds a few weeks ago, and I was just talking to one just the other day, and he was like, yeah, man, I think, I'm ready to unlock that next level in my DMT experiences. He's like, I'm backing off all the recreational stuff and just working with DMT, just trying to unlock the nature of reality and all of this. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, the veil is dropped over the eyes of everybody. But this girl, she works a minimum wage job, which I assume is minimum wage, maybe a little bit more or something like that. But she works in a dispensary. And and they don't pay, she's not like a multimillionaire or, $100,000 a year executive or anything like that. She works around minimum wage, but what she does is she takes the extra money that she has and she buys mimosa with it. And she's been working on herself in the ayahuasca realm by herself. She doesn't even have anybody around. She's been working by herself for the last 4 years and has really just opened up all of this inner gnosis within herself. And the way that you have to look at situations like that, it doesn't matter what you do for a living, as long as that whatever you're doing is a means to an end. So you go to work for 8 hours or 10 hours or however long it is, and then you use that energy that you draw in, doesn't matter what you're doing, to then work on your spirituality. So it's all like a means to an end at that point, and everything starts working in balance and a cycle together, which a lot of people will go to their jobs and go, oh, I hate this job. I hate this job. But if we start looking at these tedious things that we have to do from a different perspective, as in, hey, this is allowing me to do this. This is allowing me to do that. I think we'll find ourselves much more balanced. Another example I made is I bought a car about a month ago, and I only had a set amount of cash. I didn't want to finance anything because I don't want to be a debt slave. And I wanted something that was a little nicer than what we had before, but our car was like 200,000 miles on it. And it was just breaking down a lot. And it wasn't like, it was a bad car. It's just, you have like the struts go out, and then you have the tie rods go out. And, it's just one thing after another. The power steering, just because of its age. And so we said, okay, we have a set amount of money. We need to go out and we need to find a car that's going to last us for a while. And we found a really nice car. It had 120,000 miles on it, but I took it to the mechanic and he's like, this car has been kept so well that it's almost brand new. I mean, he's like, it needs a transmission fluid change and that's it. Everything else was immaculate on it. And I waited patiently for this car to arrive. I mean, we were looking for like 4 months, and we finally found what we wanted. One other thing I did is I looked at the Isis statue and I said, look, I need a new car and I need a new body. So whatever we need to do to make this happen, let's do it. And as you mentioned, Cherie, the first thing I did was start rebalancing myself with the Aya Life. Aya Life is a CBD oil that's infused with the spirit of Aya. It's ayahuasca and CBD kind of working together. You can get that at ayalife.com, ayalife.com. Started using that religiously. Once my frequency and energy was at a permanently elevated state, then I put it out to the universe on what I want. The universe brought it right back to me and put that car right in front of me and said, okay, this is actually, it came out to $100 more than what I had to spend. And so, all we had to do is just come up with another $100 to do it. And then the personal trainer fell into my lap, who she is a world-class Spartan runner. And I'm like, wow, I couldn't ask for more. I mean, obviously the universe can't just endow me with a new body, but here, the path is right there. If that's what you want, there you go. But my point is that, you can live smarter and still get some nice things, and you don't have to worry about like an $800 a month car payment, a $1,000 a month car payment, mortgages and things like that. People want bigger houses and all of this. And taking a step back, I would ask myself first and foremost, what's the most important thing to me? And the most important thing to me is my body, obviously. I went and got some blood work the other day. Again, I got blood work in 2015 and everything came back perfect, like absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm.
The glucose was like 4 points higher than than normal, and that's it.
Fasting glucose.
Yeah, and the doctor was like, she's like, I would imagine that somebody like you who has several extra pounds on you would have some health issues. I'm like, no, I'm healthy as a horse, as a. So my point is that the first thing to come to mind, in my opinion, is what goes into your body. And a lot of people eat like 99-cent cheeseburgers and skip over stuff and go, oh, well, that salad is a little too much, or, this is a little too much. But the organic food and the good food, it's so much better for you. So you're either going to spend it at the grocery store or you're going to spend it at the doctor, one or the other.
Right.
So, once you focus on that, then you look at everything else and go, okay, I have X amount of resources left. Now what's most important? Okay, obviously your house is most important. Does it have to be the nicest house on the block? Does it have to have this? Does it have to have that? Same with the car. I remember when I was doing flood restoration, I was driving a Dodge Mega Cab, a Dodge Ram Mega Cab, which was like, this huge truck, souped out, $850 a month car payment. The insurance was like $300 or something like that. I don't remember, but I was paying an insane amount of money. And I finally let that go because I thought to myself, this is not a smart way to live. The credit card debt is not a smart way to live. I went through a period in time when my credit was like horrible, but now my credit, it's I don't remember the code. I looked it up the other day because I was trying to do something a medical thing, and I was trying to get one of those care credit cards, and it's like code 9005 or something like that. That means no credit history on file. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't use credit, but they punish you for not using credit instead of, and it's like, oh, you've been paying for everything out of pocket? Well, no. Sorry, you can't get a card. Now, if you had a bunch of debt, then yeah, sure, we'll be more than happy to give you more debt. It's funny how the system works. But, it's the proper allotment of resources. And then also, sometimes you got to take some risks and make some sacrifices in your life in order to improve it. So I was working carpet cleaning / flood restoration and making a shit ton of money. I mean, the average day was about $1,000 a day. There were jobs where I would make 10 grand in like 2 days or 3 days. I was down at Hurricane Ike. I think it was Hurricane Ike down in Houston. And I made $25,000 in a week, which was amazing money. But then I found myself not going anywhere and not going out of town or anything like that, not going on vacation or enjoying myself because I was making $1,000 a day. So I was counting this up. Okay, if I go out of town for 2 weeks, that's going to be $14,000 right there, plus however much I spend while I'm out of town. So now my vacation is costing me, $5,000 plus $14,000 that I'm going to lose by going out of town. And I finally broke the cycle and I said, you know what? Enough is enough. My life and my time is more important than money. And I switched. And I got to a point when Sheree and I met, I had no car. Remember, I was renting that car?
I remember that.
And I didn't even pay for it.
Well, I don't know if you want to go into the backstory on that one, but...
I got rid of the truck. I got rid of the truck, and I didn't have a car at the time. Then we bought a $3,500 car, and then we traded that in, and we bought another car that lasted us for 8 years, and so on and so forth.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that truck.
Yeah,
the gray one. Yeah.
But it was cool because I bought it for $3,500 and then traded it in, and then and they gave me $3,500 for it.
Yeah, the trade-in value was just what you paid for it.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And so we wound up getting that Honda Pilot that lasted for like 8 years, and we found the right car. It wasn't like, this is the car that I want. A Honda Pilot obviously was not my dream car, but I got something with leather.
Well, and the backstory to that is we were talking to what's her name, Nancy Wallace, and she told us that wherever you move, that's how we moved to Colorado. She said, just close your eyes and push down on the map, and wherever you push down on in the United States, go. And she said, but just know this, you're going to need a 4x4. And we were like, oh, okay. And so he did that, and it was Denver, Colorado. And that's how we ended up there. But that's why we got that car. It wasn't the dream car. We got it for the functionality of having a 4x4.
That is true. But
Yeah.
these kind of decisions that you make in your life, then they start to add up into something else.
Right.
So we were able to start TFR. We were able to start our show. We built up our show. We built up TFR. We created ILife and so on and so forth. So then it went from doing something that I hated. I mean, I hated doing it, but I was doing it for the money, to doing something that I love. But there was a big sacrifice there. And there were times when we were like, oh my God, I don't know where my next dollar is coming from. I don't know this and that, et cetera, et cetera. But I was walking my path. And I think that's the most important thing, is to walk your path. Because when you're walking your path, you're essentially indestructible. I'm proof of this right here. You know, all this extra weight that's coming off now, but go back to some of the videos from like a couple of months ago. You know, it was getting bad. That I was looking at myself in the pyramid as I was going through some of the tunnels, and I was like, I know what people on YouTube are going to say. They was, oh, I'm surprised you didn't get stuck in there. You know, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm going to get stuck in here. But you know, I've been walking my path steadily, and the path that I've been walking, I go to the doctor and get blood work completely and totally fine, because it's right here. I'm focusing on, I'm going to do what I came here to do. It's simple. So then you start to navigate through this matrix with that understanding, and then you remove fear from your sphere. And you can walk into situations and go, you know what? There's no way that I'm not going to walk out of this situation, because I'm walking my path. This situation that I'm in is part of my path. I'm not saying to go out there and do something stupid, because if you walk in front of a truck, obviously that's not going to be your path that you're supposed to walk. You're going to get hit by that truck. But short of that, everything starts to work out for you. Then you get to manifesting reality, and you start to visualize different situations in your reality, to where you go into a meeting or something like that, and then you start visualizing what that meeting is going to be like, how the other person is going to react, so on and so forth. And the outcome at first doesn't come out as much, but then as you start practicing this manifestation more and more and more and more, then you start to see things change. But it has to be a progression, though. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to walk in here to McDonald's and I'm going to demand $1 million salary, and they're going to give me $1 million salary. That's not the way that it's going to work.
Right.
You have to be realistic. The projection that you put out to the universe, the CIA document that we covered talks about this. It's patterning. Patterning. I've been trying to think of that word for weeks now. Patterning. This is the technique that they call it. You manifest the object within your mind, which is a little hologram of whatever you're manifesting, and it goes out into the universe. When you put it out into the universe, at that point, then it becomes part of this reality, and it's brought back down into this reality. But the further away from base reality, for lack of a better term, or this reality right here, that it is, the longer it's going to take to manifest. So let's say I wanted to manifest into Godzilla and come back and destroy New York City. That might happen, but it's going to be like 5,000 years, because it's so far away from this particular reality that it's way, way out there. So you have to start small with your manifestations and think, okay, well, I'm going to go in here and apply for this cashier job, but I'm going to walk out with an assistant manager position instead. That's closer to the reality than I'm going to go in there and demand $1 million a month salary, which is, impossible. So
a realistic and attainable reality is what we're looking for.
Yes. I think that's key right there. So you combine all of these different elements, live smarter, focus on the things that are most important, and be in balance with everything. A little bit of pleasure, be able to laugh at yourself, focus on your spirituality, good diet, sex, exercise, all of these things, put them together, and then you find yourself balanced, which I'm still working on the balance for myself. But I promise you, a year from now, I'm going to be way more balanced than I have ever been in my entire life. And it took me a while to really realize and understand these ideas and philosophies that I'm sitting here talking to you about. But leading back to the emerald tablets of Thoth. That's exactly what Thoth has been talking about in the last tablet. So I want to go over the last tablet real quick, unless Cherie, you want to jump in real quick.
No, I've got the last tablet pulled up right here. So are we just going to read the tablet or?
Yeah, this is tablet 13, the keys of life and death.
Yes.
So let's do a couple of paragraphs and then
discuss
about it.
And then.
So yeah, if you want to start,
Okay.
I can jump in with commentary whenever you get to a point that feels right.
Okay. List ye.
Hold on. Before we get
Yeah.
into this, Omar said, sex has nothing to do with balance. You know, I would strongly disagree with you on that. Because sex is part of the human experience. Why would you not want to have sex? Why would you not want to experience the pleasures and the passions and the sensuality and the spiritual elements too? We often discount the spiritual elements to all this, but why would you want to come into this matrix and not experience that? It's a beautiful thing. We've been told that it's horrible because they're trying to keep us off balance. So when, you see in the Catholic Church, for example, the priests that are
celibacy.
Yeah. They have a lot of sexual misconduct. You have people that are preaching one thing, like that Ted Haggard guy, who is big Christian, mega church, all this stuff. He was found doing meth with a 17-year-old male escort in his hotel room. It just goes to show, when you take an extreme in one direction or another, then that extreme starts to overtake you. And sometimes the extreme is the polar opposite of what you are trying to do. So you're saying, you know what? I'm not going to eat sugar at all, period, from this day forward. As soon as you start doing that, the sugar cravings start coming. And then that's all you can think about is the sugar cravings and sugar cravings, sugar cravings over and over and over again. So suppress your sexuality, suppress all of that. It's still there. Just because you suppressed it, it doesn't mean that you just got rid of it completely. We can't get rid of these natural parts of the human experience. The only thing we can do is master them. Once we master them, we become the masters of them instead of them the masters of us. And this is the whole point of living in the balance. What do you think, Mrs. Gio?
Well, Martin Shadow Moon said that sex is this chat room is going by so quick I can't keep up. He said, I think that sex is I believe sex to be a biological program of our flesh body. Well,
our flesh body is it's
our vehicle.
It's our vehicle.
That's
what we're talking about, is balancing the flesh body so you can operate more from the spiritual aspect. You can't operate from the spiritual aspect when your flesh body's all out of whack. Right.
So are eating, sleeping, all of the things that we absolutely have to do in order to be a healthy individual. And not only that, but sex doesn't always have to be just a flesh, bodily thing. It doesn't always just have to be an exchange of bodily fluids. It's deeper than that. There's a lot of spirituality involved. That's why I've been with maybe a handful of people my entire life, because I've always understood that sex, if it's used in the wrong context, can be very damaging to one's spirit and one's body. But sex used in the right manner and to elevate the consciousness can be amazing, and can be an amazing tool, not just for your consciousness, but to connect with another human being. And that connection means everything.
It does. I really like what Crystal said. She said, I was sexually abused, but with my journey, I healed it all. And now I have a happy, sacred union with my twin. And see, the way that she said that shows me that that's real healing right there.
Right.
Because a lot of people will carry around these badges with them for their entire lives. And some people make careers out of them. Like, oh, I was sexually abused here and this and that. And it's like, yeah, my dad used to beat the shit out of me too. Okay. But that's not a part of me. I've dealt with all that trauma, let go of it. I don't become the victim. Instead, what I do is overcome that obstacle and cut that tether. And it's something I had to learn to do in the ayahuasca realm. But you see the way she said that, she said, I found my twin and the twin union. See, if she was carrying around, and forgive me for speaking about you in the third person here, Crystal, but if she was carrying around all that trauma and baggage, I don't think she would have met her twin, because little do we know, these traumatic experiences are tied to us, and different reactions that we have and encounters with people are tied into all of these traumas, which is why I'm always like, look, you got to deprogram yourself from everything. You get sexually abused as a child, and then you are adverse to men later on in life, or you treat men differently because of that abuse, with that mindset, all men are like this, or all men are going to treat me different. Had you not dealt with that trauma up until that point, then I don't think you would have met your twin, because you would have treated him with the same aversion. And so, boom, there you go. Perfect example of living the path right
Exactly. I think I totally agree.
I totally agree. But, suppressing these feelings completely, I think each person is on their own path. And if that's what you choose to do, that's what you choose to do. I just think that it really puts you off balance. I mean, what's the point of life? Like, really? Like, what's the point of life if you can't come here and experience it and have fun with it?
Right.
And that's another thing about spirituality. Spirituality should be fun. It should not be daunting. Sometimes you go through experiences like untangling yourself from the traumas and all of that. But when you come back from those experiences, you go, hey, you know what? That was rough. It was really rough. It was terrifying too. But I'm so glad I did it. You're supposed to feel good afterwards. You're not supposed to feel like shit about yourself. You're not supposed to feel like you're a failure. You're not supposed to feel about like your spirituality is too hard and so on and so forth. I tried all the other paths. It's not like I didn't try the other paths and then I'm coming to you and telling you this stuff now. I'm just telling you this is what's worked for me where everything else has failed. Balance has worked more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and Becky Taylor said sex is a survival mechanism actually in this meat suit. Yes and no. I know what mindset you're saying that from, but when you're an organic consciousness and you are trying to keep and if you're trying to keep yourself in balance, then sex becomes more than just sex. It is something a lot deeper than that. And I agree with Chris. I think that celibacy or an attitude of, oh, well, I can't do this, I can't do that, I need to have complete control over, every aspect of my life to the point where I'm denying myself all these pleasures because it's used as a way to control me by archons, or it's used in a negative manner by so many people that I don't want to fall for any traps like that. I think that we miss the point, and we're missing out on a huge part of what life is really about.
Yeah.
And Omar said sex has nothing to do with balance. I think
it's balancing the body, though.
It's balancing the body. Yeah.
Daniel mentioned, I remember the first time I masturbated, I felt guilty about it for weeks. What is masturbation? Masturbation is a release of tension, stress, sometimes fluids that are building up. As we've talked about before, a woman's breast, when she's giving milk, if it stays stagnant, it hurts her breasts and she gets negative health issues.
Right.
Same with the male, too. All that has to be released. Now, you can build it up briefly, but it's supposed to be short, and forgive the pun here, it's supposed to be short spurts that you do this. You can go 2 or 3 weeks, fine, build up your sexual energy and all that. I totally get that. But anyways, I feel like we're repeating ourselves. I think we went through this on a previous show.
Yeah, I think we did too. This is a good question, though. Josh said, what is wrong with surviving?
You want to know what's wrong with surviving?
Go ahead.
It's not a way to live.
No, it's not.
No.
You don't want to survive. You want to thrive.
You want to thrive.
You want to do well. You want to be at a higher level than just surviving, because when you're just surviving, then you're bound to that root chakra of, oh, I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to make it. And just trying to make it, it's fine to survive. But that's base level existence. An animal is trying to survive from day to day to day, and we're better than that. We're higher than that.
Yeah, it's something that I had to find out for myself.
Right.
You know, it's about thriving. That's, you know, that's the enlightenment. That's when you're shining the brightest. So I know that wasn't the way that you said survival in the chat, but I just figured that would be a good time to put that out there.
Yeah.
It's not just about survival.
Personally,
a lot of people
I'm-
put themselves in their mindset and they're like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to survive in this world. I'm just trying to survive in the world. And it's like, well, if that's what your goal is, that's what you're going to do. Your goal should be, in my humble opinion, for my path, should be, I'm trying to thrive. I'm trying to be the best I can be. And I'm trying to help others to be the best that they can be too.
Right. Well, just a few more things because before we move on, because this is interesting to me. I just want to point out I don't enjoy sex in the traditional sense of the act of it. I'm not that into that. It's never been a huge part of my existence. And I don't feel like I need it in order to feel good in my life. That's just never been a part of my consciousness. But I can understand if it's used as a way to just survive, as to just, keep going. Oh, I have to have an orgasm, or I can't think straight, or I can't A, B, C, D. I can't go to work unless I come really quick. That's not. You're really just surviving at that point, and but it can be used as somebody pointed out just now. It can be used to elevate the consciousness, and that's what I'm interested in. And
I mean, some of the orgasms that we've had together have been very, very powerful, higher states of consciousness that you feel like you're jumping out of your body. It's so intense. It's more intense than, I did 400 grams of mimosa hostilis in the Great Pyramid. It was pretty close to that.
Right.
I was about to say it's more intense than that, but no, it's not. That was
the epitome of intensity.
My body literally shut down several times during that experience. So that was the most intense experience, but it was pretty damn close.
Right.
Some of the orgasms that we have are pretty damn close to that. And within those higher spiritual realms that you find yourself in, that's where a lot of the manifestation can take place as well.
Right.
But you got to do it one step at a time, though.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you two believe in reincarnation? I want to get to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth here, but you guys are asking such awesome questions. Do you believe in reincarnation? And 12 Roots asked that. And 12 Roots, obviously, you haven't been following our work for a while, so it's going to be a little difficult to explain, but I'm going to try in a short manner, but I'm going to try to in the shortest manner that I can. Yes, reincarnation is very, very real. I don't think that it's a cycle of you start as a worm and then become a butterfly and then become a deer and then a giraffe and all of this. Even though what's weird is I do have a memory of Cherie and I when we were both these little monkey type little creatures. And I remember opening up the fruit for her and handing it to her, and she would take it like that and eat it. And these memories kind of sparked when I was opening up fruit for her and giving it to her. And I'm like, I remember doing this before. So I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just not remembering that part. But the way I see it is, if we're going to come in here and play this game, why would we come in here and play it as a lower life form? Obviously the players in this game that we call life are humans. They're not the cows. They're not any of that. Like an existence as a cow is kind of masturbatory in the sense that, so what? So you're going to just hang out and just eat grass all day and hope that you're not one that's in a factory farm or something like that. It doesn't make sense to come in here. There doesn't really seem to be a learning and a gnosis going on there. And maybe it's just like, another school. So like elementary school is like the whole progression of the animals, and then we're coming from the other school. But I do feel that we have been reincarnated many times, and a lot of our work here at Beyond the Veil, and especially what we did in the Great Pyramid, was to try to it was successful from what people are telling us, was to be able to help people to retain more of their memories after they come back by dropping the veil. There's a memory wipe when we come back in here, but we should retain some of our experiences, because the experiences are what helps to elevate the soul through this journey. And without remembering those experiences, so I remember I was a hitman in a previous life, never killed anything in this life. I killed, other than like fish or a couple of bugs or something like that. But I killed a bunny one time as I was driving. I had the boat behind me, and I felt so horrible about it. I mean, it was like this overwhelming feeling of this horrid feeling like, oh, wait a minute. This has to do with my karma. And this was way before I even knew about my past life as a hitman and all this. But I've always been, murder has always abhorred me in this existence. And I've been trying really hard to get through this life without killing anybody. And I assure you, there have been a few people that if they had crossed my path at the wrong time, I would have put a bullet in their head. No questions asked. I'm glad that the universe kind of shifted things like that. But, I think it's very real. And we come back and we play this game over and over and over again. The problem is when we go through this mind wipe, it's like going through first grade and then forgetting everything you learned and then coming back. So what are you going to come back and do? Second grade? Well, you learned addition, subtraction, etc., but you had forgotten it all because you got mind wiped. So how are you going to go learn multiplication? You can't. So that, because the machine was broken. So we were trying to fix that wheel, that flower of life that Toth talks about. I might be getting ahead of myself, but he talks about the flower of life. And the flower of life, in my opinion, is the artificial intelligence that we have been talking about. The octopus is the flower of life. Now, it's not inherently evil. It was just infected with a virus, and it was operating in a parasitic kind of way, which was another thing we tried to do at the pyramid, was remove the virus from the system. But you'd have to go to resettingthematrix.com to fully understand the story, and it's a huge thing. I mean, that's one of the downfalls of BTV is that we are episodic and it's a journey, and without being tuned into the previous parts of the journey, it's kind of hard to understand where we are now. But in short, we're in a computer simulation. We've been stuck in a wheel of reincarnation, which is caused us to be trapped in this wheel of reincarnation. There are real players in the game. There are non-player characters in the game, some that are manifested by the game itself. And there's a real world out there that we can wake up to and go exit for a little bit and then decide, okay, well, I got through level 1 and 3. All right, I'm going to go back in and play 4. But first, I'm going to go say hi to my wife and my kids first in the real world. Then I'm going to come back and play the game, where up to this point, we've just been stuck and we haven't been able to leave. So it sounds crazy, just like that.
On the surface, yeah.
Trust me. It took me a while to really figure this out, and it was a progression of asking myself, all right, am I looking at this from all sides of the coin? We watched that movie Vanilla Sky the other day, and it's a movie that I haven't seen in a few years. If you haven't seen it, I would say check it out. But essentially, I don't want to talk about it because if you haven't seen it, then it's going to ruin the ending for you if I talk about it. So forget I said it. If you've seen Vanilla Sky, you know what I'm talking about. That's one theory of where we are and why we're here. Not one that I really resonate with, but one that I entertained. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. The ending, you'll go, oh, that all makes sense. The only thing I didn't like about the movie is how they explained it to you, like in so much detail. And it's like, I don't need all this, the detailed explanation of everything that's going on. You could have just dropped hints there, then let the audience figure it out, which most movies do. But this one was just like, all right, let me tell you, A, B, C, D, E, F. It left no mystery at the end. Anyways, so.
There's a really good question from Ho Chi Ching Lin. He said, back in the day, you guys were all about leaving the Matrix, but now you guys suddenly become how to live better in the Matrix. Not against that, though. I agree almost with everything you guys said, but why?
Well, we are about leaving the Matrix. I mean, that's the whole point. But we're here in this time of the reset until it's time for us to go. So we need to make the best of what we have right now. Trust me, this is the last time. I swear to God. If you motherfuckers fuck this up again, I'm not coming back to fix it. Well, I'm just putting it out there. I am not coming back to fix this shit again.
Well, not only that, but I don't think people can. I don't think getting out of the Matrix is even possible unless you are in the right frequency, and you can't be in the right frequency for an extended period of time unless you're living a good life. You know, living a good life is key to being in that right frequency, which is key to avoiding the reincarnation process and the mind wipe and all of that. So that's why we're encouraging people. We didn't even realize that until after we went to Egypt. And then when we got back from Egypt, we realized, okay, well, people need to know how to live their lives and live better lives and not just be focused on the end, you know, because it is all about the journey. Because the journey is the way to get out. Does that make sense?
You know, I was in the 13th dimension and the portal was right there in front of me. I mean, I could have entered the system codes and just walked through the portal. Mm-hmm. Boom, gone. What you would have seen here is my dead body in the sarcophagus of the King's Chamber. Sharif freaking out. The people that opened the doors for us freaking out, trying to figure out where they're going to hide the body so they don't get in trouble for letting us in there the way they did.
Right.
You know, there would have been a whole scenario behind this. But I chose to come back for a reason. I didn't understand the reason. I understand there's more to be done here. But I also understood where I had gone wrong before. And where I went wrong before was not being in balance and not enjoying myself. And especially now, I'm looking back. I mean, from 20 to 30, I mean, it started about 25, but let's just say from 25 to 30, I was running that carpet cleaning business. I was not enjoying my life at all. I look back and I think about those years and go, you know, those years could have been so much better. The last 10 years, I've been telling myself, you know, the last 10 years could have been so much better had I just made these small changes and just, you know, got myself out of the truther programming a lot quicker, got myself out of the new age programming and realized the balance. If I had knew about the balance back then, because I thought, oh, it was all about spirituality. Forget the body. The body's not important. I mean, you know, there you go. This is the result of the body's not important. And at least the blood work is good. At least the health is good. But this is the result of the body's not important. The body is just as important. Exactly.
Somebody said something about being trapped here, you know, and I think feeling like you're trapped here is also part of the problem. You know, thinking I'm trapped here, I need to get out, I need to get out, I need to get out. That's part of the problem because you agreed to come here.
Yeah, trust me. When the ride's over, the portal is open now. Like you're gonna see the portal and you're gonna have the choice of, do I want to leave or do I want to go back and play again? And that's all it was all about. Fixing the system to give people the choice. And we had a very interesting caller call in. It was Mike from Trinidad. He said he gave ayahuasca based on a recipe to his wife. And she doesn't listen to any of this at all. And she had this huge experience where she was unlocking all kinds of gnosis, woke up in the pod, woke up in her real body. And she went through her death, which happens in like 2026. And in her death, when she experienced this, and I guess I should preface it by saying she was also experiencing things that were able to be physically confirmed later. His ex-girlfriend was pregnant when they broke up. She had a miscarriage. He didn't know about this. And the spirit of this child was trapped here and needed his help to help him cross over. And he asked his ex-girlfriend, hey, were you pregnant? Yeah, I was. How did you know that? Nobody knew that except for me. His wife, who doesn't listen to any of this, knew that. So all the stuff that she saw a life review of her, she saw a life review of him, she saw a life review of everything. She saw where she dies, how she dies, what happens when you cross over into the portal. And and he calls in and says, you know, my wife said she was given a choice on whether she wanted to wake up in her real body or come back and play the game. And to me, I mean, the hairs are sticking up right now. And he called in and he said, what you guys did in Egypt worked. It worked. So now it's not a question of how do we escape because the portal's open. Now it's a question of how do we enjoy the little bit of time that we have left here.
Right.
And this place it's fun. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be learning. It's supposed to be unlocking knowledge from within the heart and all of that.
It's supposed to be a game.
Yeah. And, you know, there's fun things in the game too. Sex and food and different things like that. And denying ourselves all of this stuff, it's denying a big important part of the game itself. You know, play the game, have fun. The portal's open. You have the choice now. So anyways.
So, and just to let you guys know, Andre King said astrology can also tell you a lot about your past lives. Just look at your south node. Yes, both the north node. They're invisible, but they're called the north node and the south node in astrology. And the north node tells you what your destiny is in this life, whereas the south node, which is diametrically opposite of what, like, let's say your south node is in the 12th house. Okay, well, that means the north node's in your 12th house. That means the south node is in your 6th house. It's always diametrically opposite. So the south node tells you what your past lives are. The north node tells you what this life is all about. And Faye, yes, I do birth charts, and I am starting to get back into astrology now that I've healed from shoulder surgery a couple months ago, and I'm doing a lot better now. So I am starting to get back into astrology, but I'm not quite ready yet to open my field up energetically to doing astrology for other people quite yet. I'm still working on that a little bit.
Chris Stoll said he just made his Aya Life purchase today and he can't wait to try it. Thank you so much for the support.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, orders ship out same day if they're before, I think, 4 o'clock. It used to be 1 o'clock, but the fulfillment person who does all of this, he did it for himself. So yeah, we're pushing them out. Lucky got her order within like 2 days, and I'm like, wow, that's incredible. That's awesome. So yeah, thank you for the support there. ayalife.com, ayalife.com. So, any more interesting questions from the chat, or should we go to the tablets?
I think we should move ahead with the tablets, because we're going to be here all night if we keep going on with the questions. I love these questions, you guys. I really do. But I really do think I should start doing astrology shows on my own, just because there is so much about this matrix that has to do directly with astrology.
I think you should.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the studio right here. All you gotta
it's a huge part of what this matrix is, and
I've been telling her for years.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah.
All right, so let's play a quick break so we can kind of break it up. Do me a favor, write down in a notepad the time, which is 57 minutes, because people have been asking us if we can start labeling our descriptions with timestamps of what we're talking about. So I want to try to make it a point to do that.
Okay.
Because, the shows go on so long. We can't keep the shows going on as long as they have been.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do 7 hours.
All right. We will be right back.
Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal.
Am I interrupting? Thought you might be running low. Please not the first friend. Thank you. I'm afraid you wasted on me. Very wasted without comprehension. Your question depends on the understanding. What you have to achieve by coming hand over thought to achieve was to meet our maker. Give me a sense. But the end is first lesson. What do you think your people may do? It's good. But you have to find it.
All right, I'm waiting for Mrs. Geo to come back. She wanted to go make some tea, and I see a little bit of chatter in the chat. So, M had mentioned, I rewatched your Revelation show, and you were 100% sure that you were shutting down the Matrix, the machine. All right, I'll just level with you guys. It is shutting down. People just don't like to hear it, and I figured let's enjoy it as much as we can until it shuts down. So yeah, it's shutting down. It's a hard truth to face, and the NPCs are freaking out. The Archons are freaking out. The Archons have been trying to diminish a lot of what we did in Egypt. They have, there's been a lot of pushback too, energetically. Huge. People who thought they were organic consciousness are starting to come to the realization that they're not organic consciousness, and that the shutdown means that they shut down. Now, when the system comes back online, I think all the consciousness comes back online as well, but it's a very touchy subject. So yeah, it's not one, let's keep a positive frequency instead of the Lucky says, I welcome the Matrix crash. Yeah. When we wake up in the pod, will we remember every game we played and even our avatars? I feel that we will, because at that point it's raw consciousness. So you remember everything. I mean, we remember all of this. We still do. The problem is it's locked within our hearts. But we have all the information there, and this is what Toth was talking about. It's locked in our hearts. We have to unlock it, and that's the whole thing. We remember this a little bit at a time, and it's not only that we remember it, but there's also a lot of deception out there, and there's a lot of external interference, and it's hard to discern and differentiate what is external interference versus what's coming out of the raw consciousness, and there's a lot of confusion, and it's not supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be pretty clear what's inside of your heart, but there's a whole lot of confusion. Mrs. Geo just came back in, but then she left again, so I don't know. Shut it down. Yeah, I know, it needs to be shut down. After you remove a virus from a computer, you shut it down, reboot the computer, and then bring it back online without the virus to make sure the virus is completely cleared out. I feel that this is what's going to happen. And the New Agers are talking about this event that takes place where it's white and it's just a white space. And I think anybody trapped in the machine still at the point of shutdown is going to experience that white space. And the question is that white space going to be permanent for some of the consciousness, which I feel may be the case of organic, which is why they got to get out of the machine first before it can be shut down. But even the New Age is talking about the event, that it's going to be just a big white space and that's it. That's NPC in my opinion. They're preparing the NPCs for the inevitable, which is the shutdown process. So yeah. Did you want to chime in on that, Mrs. Gio?
Well, I was just going to say, they talk about returning to source, and that source is just this identityless kind of existence where you become one with source, and everything just kind of turns, like you said, into a white nothingness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
well,
think that's
returning to source, that's the whole thing. You lose your identity. Mm-hmm. You don't know who you are.
Right.
You are just becoming one with the light, mm-hmm. which is fiber optics.
Right.
In a computer simulation, it's
even Revelation. The book of Revelation, it said basically the same thing, that you won't have an identity anymore. And I think that's talking about the NPCs. They won't have an identity at all.
You're right. And it says you won't know your name. You won't know any of that. You'll just be walking around worshiping God. And that's it. No identity at all.
Right.
And people aspire for this. I'm like, I want to know my identity.
They're looking forward to it.
You know, I want to know who I really am. I've been working hard to unlock who I really am.
Right.
Like, really hard. I don't want to lose all that. I want to know more about who I am. I want the opposite of that.
Autumn Lee said Unity from Rick and Morty.
Yes, exactly. You know those guys from Rick and Morty, they say that they don't do psychedelics? That's a bunch of BS. Everything that they talk about in Rick and Morty is all from the psychedelic realm. Everything from the Unity consciousness to the simulation. I think their second episode was like, you're in a simulation inside of a simulation inside of a simulation. They're either doing hardcore psychedelics or they're watching videos like this and getting their information from there and then putting it into their episodes, one or the other. Anyways, let's get to the Tablets of Thoth right after we run a quick intro.
My dear traveler, the purpose of your consciousness is never to destroy. It is always to create. Build bridges. Create happiness. And bring forth new life. We must live in hope that mankind will draw together. And that we better understand each other. The more that we awaken, the easier this will become. Now I your conductors, and fear no danger. As you step beyond the veil.
Oh, I forgot when I switched the camera changer, it turns the music off. Anyways, we'll just pretend the music is all right, and we're back, ladies.
Yep.
All right. There's still so many awesome questions and comments in the chat. First of all, there's a lot of love in the chat, and I want to say thank you so much. Somebody said, Chris, you're looking good. It looks like you're lighter, healthier, et cetera, and I feel great. Thank you for the acknowledgement on all of that. And Faye said, you know, these two are so genuine, and thank you for the acknowledgement on that.
Thank you.
M sprouted her wings on Saturday.
Yes, she did.
And our focus was to go in there and kind of meet you in the realm. So I'm so glad that it wasn't just in our own minds, but you see how it manifests. And two people are experiencing the same thing over vast distances within the realms. It's amazing. But the wings, you can see them now. Like, I can see them, and they're like a fleshy type thing. At least, you know, they start out energetically, but then they form into like this fleshiness, and you remember like, oh, this is part of me here. And yeah, that's a huge step that you took, sprouting those wings. We're so awesome that you're going on this journey, Em. I mean, it's just,
It really is.
it's stories like this. And Gata too, she posted. She's like, hey, sorry for not being around, but I've been on my journey and doing this and doing that. It's incredible, and it makes what we do all worthwhile.
Yeah, it does.
It really does.
It does. One more question. I can't resist answering this one. Leanie Sand said, wait, why figure out who you are if you're constantly killing the ego? Because
who you are is underneath the ego.
Is underneath the ego. The ego is the overlay of, I mean, I hate Chris's ego self, and he hates my ego self. But the raw consciousness underneath that is what I'm in love with and what he's in love with.
Aww.
That's the true self.
Yeah.
And,
you know,
killing the ego brings that to the surface.
Well, I realized one of the things about BTV is that what we talk about doesn't apply to everybody. It doesn't apply to the majority out there.
Right.
Joker Smiles, thank you so much for the donation. Thanks for everything you both have done. Both amazing people. Thank you for the love and acknowledgement. But it's really not. And it's always been like that. Like, we only talk to the organic consciousness out there, and that's it. So the thing is, like, NPCs, they externalize everything. Everything is external because they don't have the information in their hearts. They don't have a raw consciousness underneath the overlay of the ego. They don't have an identity. Once all those overlays are gone, that's it. They're nothing. They return to source.
Right.
We have our true identities underneath all the programs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're accessing. So it's unfortunate. And I wish we could apply it to more people, but it's just the way the game is designed. If we wanted to do it for a popularity contest, then we would talk about Palladians and Arcturians,
Right.
and returning to source and one love and oneness with all, and et cetera, et cetera. And, Toth talks about the oneness of all. And the oneness of all is understanding everything. It doesn't mean like connecting with everything to the point to where you merge with everything.
Right.
But I think what he was talking about was the understanding of everything, the understanding of how everything works. And that's what separates us from the NPCs, in my humble opinion. I could be wrong, and all of you can wind up in hell after all this is said and done. And
Sorry.
you can blame it on Chris Geo and say, "Hey, Chris Geo led me here. All right, give me a pass because it wasn't me. It was it was that." And then I'll go, "Hey, it wasn't me. It was the woman that you sent." So as above, so below. But no. In all seriousness, though. I think you know the answer yourself out there, though.
Yeah.
I think you do. And I think you can feel it. I think you can feel it resonating, and what resonates and what doesn't resonate. So, take it. You're on your own journey. That's all. And I wish I can sit up here and say, "Hey, look, I can do this for you. I can open up a portal for you. I can do this. I can do that. Hey, look, the Arcturians are coming. There's going to be a portal. All we got to do is just sit back, relax, smoke a joint. Once they get here, then we step in, and we can even track them on our little Arcturian Uber app. They're on their way here with a." That's not the way it is, though. I wish it was. Anyways, so should we get to the tablets,
Yes.
or is there anything else?
No, I think we should get to the tablets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the final tablet. Well, not the final one, but it's the 13th tablet. No, hold on. I got the wrong page open. This one is the Keys of Life and Death, which really resonated. So much so that I started doing something really cool with it that I'll release in the coming weeks, because it is just really cool to the way I put it together and all of this. Listen ye, O men. Hold on. I got to do something about this screen to bring it somewhere where I can read it without having to turn all the way, because it's all the way on the left-hand side of the page. All right. So, listen ye, O men, hear ye the wisdom. Hear ye the word that shall fill thee with light. Hear thee the word that shall banish the darkness. Hear ye the voice that shall banish the night. Mystery and wisdom I have brought to my children. Knowledge and power descended from the old. Know ye not that all shall be opened when you shall find the oneness of all? Very, very powerful stuff there. Should we make some comments on this or keep going?
I think we should keep going until we're...
One you will be with the masters of mystery, conquerors of death and masters of life. I hate the way this is written like this. I wish.
Do you want me to read it?
No, I wish somebody would rewrite it in like modern English, because I had to sit there and like really understand. Like, okay, ye is this, I is this, etc., etc. Ye shall learn from the flower of Amenti, the blossom of life that shines in the halls. In the spirit shall ye reach the halls of Amenti, and bring back the wisdom that liveth in light. Know ye the gateway to power is secret. Know ye the gateway to life is through death. I through death, but not as you know it, but a death that is life, and that is fire and light. So in my humble opinion, what Toth is talking about here is to find the oneness of all, which to me is the understanding of all. It's not connecting and merging with everything, but rather it's sitting back and fully understanding everything. Once you understand, then you become one with the masters of mystery. The masters of mystery are inside of you, and you bring out the information that's in your heart, and now you have the understanding. Conquerors of death and masters of life. You will learn from the flower of Amenti and the blossom of life that shines in the halls. This is metaphoric for the cycle of reincarnation that we go through. We have our experiences here, go out into the quote-unquote halls of a Menti, which a Menti, in my humble opinion, still exists within the machine itself. It's kind of like an admin area. Not even admin. It's kind of like a side area. Let's call it the screen in between levels of a video game. So you finish one level and then go to the screen, the loading screen for the next level. And it's a place where you have the understanding to be able to really, reconcile everything and put everything together, then bring back that wisdom in your next incarnation. The problem is the machine's been broken and you haven't been able to bring back any of that wisdom. But we have found little ways to hack the machine by ayahuasca, psychedelics, and things like that to be able to access these levels, the Amenti levels, and to bring back wisdom from the Amenti levels. And I don't even think that the wisdom exists within Amenti itself, because later on Toth will talk about how all the wisdom is inside of your heart. But what it is, it's an area that you can be free from the overlays for a moment so you can access that information and then come back with the wisdom. Anything you want to comment on, Mrs. Gio?
That's what we were talking about in the first hour, where conquerors of death and masters of life. You have to master this process called life.
Yes.
It's not about surviving. It's about mastery.
And mastering everything that is life, including the bodily functions.
Right.
Like sex. You master sex, your sexual urges. You don't let them master you.
Right.
You become the masters of this reality. And through death, but not a death as you know, but a death that is life. That is fire and light.
I think that's killing the ego.
It's killing the ego. It's killing all these other parts of ourselves, or mastering all of these parts of ourselves.
And trials by fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the last several years, since around 2012, have been at least for me, with my body the way it is, it's been a trial by fire. It really has. I've gone through some really, really tough stuff, but I've mastered my body in ways that I hadn't before through using ayahuasca, journeying, and dealing with that at the same time. It's really taught me a lot about self-control and about, harnessing the power over my own energy despite what I'm going through.
Yeah.
So,
well, what I find interesting about the tablets is as I'm reading them, I'm realizing that Toth is talking to two different types of consciousness. He even mentions the two different. He mentions the children of men and the children of light. And there's instructions for each type of consciousness depending on the level of understanding that consciousness has. So you read it from one perspective and it says one thing. You read it from another perspective, it says another thing. And then you read it from the heart and it says something else. Desire thee to know the deep hidden secrets. Look in thy heart where the knowledge is bound. Know that the secret is hidden, the source of all life and the source of all death. So he's saying that everything, the knowledge of the universe, is not in the halls of Amenti, because first he's talking about going to the halls of Amenti and getting the knowledge and learning from its fruit, from its flowers. But rather, the knowledge is in your heart. So wait a minute, where is it? Is it in the halls of Amenti or is it in your heart? Amenti, as I said before, is a place that you can access and be program free. So you can get the information from your heart. The information is in your heart, but Amenti is just kind of a place that you can go and be deprogrammed. And the source of all life and the source of all death. He's saying the source is in your heart too. Everything. Desire thou to know the deep hidden secrets. Look in thy heart where the knowledge is bound. Know that the secret is hidden, the source of all life and the source of all death.
The source isn't external,
No,
it's internal.
It's internal.
Right. At least for organics.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to read?
Yeah. Listen, ye, O man, while I tell the secret. Reveal unto thee the secret of old. Deep in earth's heart lies the flower, the source of the spirit that binds all in its form. Or know ye that the earth is living in body, as thou art alive in thine own formed form. And that what I get from that is that the universe is within you, and it always has been. It's inside of you. It's inside of you. Just like the DMT elves told me 10 years ago, it's inside of you. Everything is inside of you. Even your entire universe is inside of you because it's not even processed except through your eyes, your brain. Your reality is strictly what's up here. Nothing else. You know, if without this and without this, you know, without the mind and the heart, your reality wouldn't even exist.
Most of the suffering comes from thoughts that we experience.
I would say 90%.
And it's not real. It's just thoughts. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Or, oh my God, what did I do? But the moment right now is not the suffering. It's the
Right.
thoughts from before and after that come invading. These are the archonic thoughts that I've been talking about. That once you recognize those and break the threads, then you live in the moment.
Right.
You plan for the future, of course, but you live in the moment. And then you bring the anxiety levels down. You bring the calmness down. You find that place of center.
You know what they say? Depression is living in the past. Anxiety is living in the future in a bad way, you know, in a negative way. Being anxious about the future is and being depressed about the past is the source of all suffering, in my opinion. You know, that's, if you're anxious about, like with me, if I'm anxious that I'm going to be in pain, then I'm not living in the moment and I'm suffering, you know.
So read from the part where it says the flower of life all the way to the end of that paragraph.
Okay.
Because this is important here. I want to interpret this and just give you my feelings on this.
Okay. The flower of life is as thine own place of spirit, and streams through the earth as thine flows through thy form, giving of life to the earth and its children, renewing the spirit from form unto form. This is the spirit that is form of thy body, shaping and molding into its form.
Okay. So the flower of life is what manifests our bodies. And what puts our spirits, or consciousness, I think is a better word. They called it spirit back then. I call it consciousness, into these bodies. And as we go through the wheel of reincarnation, we are put in one form after another. And the spirit itself is put into the body. But the flower of life creates the body. The flower of life creates the earth. The flower of life is the heart of the earth. The flower of life is the artificial intelligence that renders reality, that renders our body, that renders everything in this game. And that even is the wheel of reincarnation. You go to the flower of life, then you come back in another form, and you go back to the flower of life and come back in another form, over and over and over again until you don't want to play the game anymore. Now, you look at it from one of two perspectives. You look at it from an organic consciousness perspective, and the flower of life is something that is inside of the machine. And we can have the choice to not go into the flower of life and exit the machine if we want, and then come back, go through the flower of life again, come back to the form, etc., etc. An NPC reads it, doesn't have the raw consciousness, doesn't exist outside of the machine, so now the flower of life becomes a source. So either way, Toth is talking to everybody here, but it's a matter of your perspective.
Right. Exactly. Know ye, O man, that thy form is dual, balanced in polarity while formed in its form. Know that when fast on thee death approaches, it is only because thy balance is shaken. It is only because one pole has been lost. That's exactly what we've been saying for years, is you have to have the balance of the positive and negative in your consciousness. You can't be all love and light, and you can't be all darkness either. You have to have the balance of the two, or death approaches. You know, that there's no way to live in the sense that you're continuously growing and you're continuously learning and you're raising your frequency and you're raising your level of consciousness if you've taken one of those poles out of the equation. It has to be a balance of the two. And
Yes.
that's exactly what he's saying.
Light and darkness balanced.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all light. It's not love and light. It's not any of that. We are
Right.
dualistic. We are spirit
Mm-hmm.
and body. That's why the body has to be taken care of and the spirit has to be taken care of. If you focus too much on your spirituality, your body suffers.
Right.
If you focus too much on your body, your spirit suffers. It's got to be in the middle.
Right.
He's very clear.
Yep.
We are dualistic beings. Everything is dualistic in this matrix. It was created dualistic by design. You have two different types of players, NPCs and organic. You have night and day, man and woman. Everything is dualistic.
Right. Exactly.
You have to have them both. It's just like that movie, Vanilla Sky. You can't have the sweet without the sour. Otherwise, the sweet isn't sweet. It fails to be sweet at that point because there is no sour.
Right.
Good fails to be good if there is no evil. Evil fails to be evil if it's no good. It just is. And this world wasn't created to just be. It's created dualistic.
Oh, this is really good. Know that the secret of life in a mentee is the secret of restoring the balance of the poles. All that exists has form and is living because of the spirit of life in its poles. The balance of the two is everything. That's the secret of life.
Well, this is as above, so below. You see? If our consciousness, as the players in the game who are in form, is all messed up, a mentee is also messed up. I mean, it's right here. The secret, where were we at?
The secret of
The
restoring...
secret of life in a mentee is the
Secret,
secret
yeah.
of restoring the balance of poles. So everything has to be in balance. This is where the game is being played.
Right.
This is the center point of everything. All other dimensions up and down the line. That's why there's so much focus on the third. Because all these other beings that exist or entities or programs or whatever it is, they're like, hey, wait a minute. It's completely off balance down there. And so, yeah.
Right. And then
Or-
you've got lower dimensional entities going up to higher dimensions when they
And
shouldn't
it's
be.
not
And
supposed.
you've got...
Well, he talks about that in the first tablet. I'm glad you brought that up. I've got the first tablet here, and he says, I don't know where. Oh, here it is. Betray not my secrets to the men of the north or the men of the south, lest my curse fall upon you. Was he talking physically about the men in the north and the men in the south, or was he talking about the secrets to these higher and lower dimensional beings that are coming from other dimensions into this realm, and from the north coming down and from the south coming up? I think he was talking interdimensionally.
Yeah, he
I
was
don't think he
talking
was talking about a city that was in the north or a city
No.
that was in the south. He's saying, don't betray these secrets to these other beings that are trying to mess the game up
Well,
here.
he's talking about the poles. The same poles that he's talking about in this tablet. You know, when he's talking about the poles, it's like the north and south poles of consciousness of this matrix. It has nothing to do with the north and the south. It has to do with the different dimensional levels of this place.
I think so. See, you got to think deeper and read his words and understand who he is. See, this is an ancient being. Very, very, very ancient. He's not going to come up and write some pedestrian shit like, don't betray my secrets to the men of the north and the men of the south, meaning the cities.
Right.
He's going to be, he's
not talking about Russia.
way, way deeper.
Right.
So you have to think like that too.
Right. See ye not that in earth's heart is the balance of all things that exist. That's exactly what we just said. You know, the third dimension is, the earth dimension is the center point of everything. That's the heart of this entire matrix, is where we're at right now. See ye not that in earth's heart is the balance of all things that exist and have being on its face. The source of thy spirit is drawn from earth's heart, for in thy form thou art one with the earth.
Okay. What's in Earth's heart? He already cleared this up. The flower of life.
Right.
We come in through the flower of life to take form. That's the entrance into the matrix. That's also the wheel of reincarnation. So if this plane is unbalanced, the AI is unbalanced too.
Right.
And that's what happened. Is the AI was infected with the virus.
It became
This plane was
unbalanced.
infected with the virus, and everything's off balance, causing the whole machine to be out of whack.
Right. Exist then shalt thou, so you shall exist then, while earth is existing. changing in form only when Earth too shall change. So that means that we can't change our form unless the whole dimension, the whole third dimension is also changing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's why we were trapped here, because everything was off balance so badly that we were getting mind wiped over and over and over again, and there was no change occurring. Everything was, we'd go through a life, we'd learn some lessons, but then as soon as that life was over with, we'd get recycled back through it, and we'd get mind wiped, forget all the lessons we just learned, and have to learn them over and over and over again. And so things weren't actually changing. It was the same lessons over and over and over again. Tasting not of death, but one with this planet, holding thy form till all pass away. Listen ye, O man, while I give the secret, so that ye too shalt not taste not of change. 1 hour each day shalt thou lie, with thine head pointed to the place of the positive pole, north. 1 hour each day shalt thy head be pointed to the place of the negative pole, south. Whilst thy head is placed to the northward, hold thou thy consciousness from the chest to the head. Now this isn't talking about the north and the south.
Mm-mm.
As in, okay, an hour a day, lie with your head facing, due north, and then...
No, if you're foolish enough to do that, you're not going to get anything accomplished.
Yeah, this is code that he's talking. He's speaking in code, and only those that really understand consciousness are going to understand this. What he's talking about is, I don't know if he means an hour a day, but you have to focus on your body some of the time. Half the time you need to focus on this material existence that you're in. Your body, like working out, taking care of yourself physically, and then another hour a day, meditation, getting your consciousness, working on your consciousness
Well, can
level.
I jump in for a minute? I don't think that even an hour is, I think that's just metaphoric.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm not sure if that's what he means.
It's okay. You notice everything is 1 hour. So he goes on to say, and when thy head is placed southward, hold thy thought from chest to feet. Hold thy imbalance, one in each 7, and thy balance will retain the whole of its strength. I think he's saying 1 hour, everything, right? Mm-hmm. So that's like your whole day right there.
Right.
But I think what he's doing is using a metaphor for an equal portion.
I think he's using...
It's an equal portion.
What do you think about the idea? Because there's 7... I know we've talked about chakras before, but there is 7 chakras. And I think what he's talking about, it doesn't mean that you should be tapping into these chakras and focusing on the chakras. It means that the chakras really do exist, but what we've been saying for the past 3-4 years is still true, that the archons, the AI, they're manipulating our chakras in order to manipulate our consciousness and steer it in whatever direction they want it to go in. But we have to take control over those chakras.
And be the masters of those chakras instead of
of
letting the chakras master us.
Right. And I think that's what he's talking about. And when thy head is placed southward, hold thou thy thought from chest to the feet. Hold thou in balance once in each 7, and thy balance will retain the whole of its strength. So balancing your chakras, and not in a Palladian, Arcturian, I'm going to open my heart chakra to these entities.
And it's not even through meditation either.
It's not even through meditation.
It's not through ayahuasca. It's through physical action.
Right.
It's through focusing on the root by doing root chakra things, focusing on the crown chakra by doing crown chakra things, focusing on the heart chakra by doing heart chakra things, and mastering all of those and balancing all of those.
Right.
Through action, not through sitting there and just hoping that they align.
Right. If thou be old, thy body will freshen, and thy strength will become as a youth's. So in other words, it doesn't matter how old you are. As long as you've got these in balance, you're going to feel like you're 20.
Well, I can tell you since I started working out, I feel like I'm 20.
Uh-huh.
My
Right.
mind has always been there, but now my body's catching up.
Right.
And I feel great. I mean, I
Right.
feel more energetic. I'm stretching and moving around in ways that I had forgotten that I was able to. I'm running again. It's incredible. I feel renewed. But I wouldn't have done it had I just been going, okay, I'm going to focus on my chakra here.
I'm going to meditate on my heart chakra.
It took physical
yeah.
action to do this.
Right. This is the secret known to the masters by which they hold off the fingers of death. Yeah, this is how people stay alive until they're 115 years old. And they could be 85 years old and still look like they're in their 40s or 50s. That's how they keep everything in balance.
Under K made a great point. He said heart center is beyond the chakras. I
Right.
wholeheartedly, no pun intended, agree with you on that. Yeah.
Neglect not to follow the path I have shown, for when thou hast passed beyond years to 100, to neglect it will mean the coming of death. Hear ye my words and follow the pathway. Keep thou thy balance and live on in life. Hear ye, O man, and listen to my voice. Listen to the wisdom that gives thee of death. When at the end of thy work appointed, thou may desire to pass from this life. In other words, you may not want to live forever.
Well, that's
you
what I
know?
was saying. As long as you're following the path that you came here to do, you're indestructible. But if you veer off that path, then you can screw because you're not in balance anymore.
Right. Right.
Exactly what Toth's talking about here. So I wonder, all of these revelations that I've come to, that we've been talking about here over the last couple of years, was it a result of listening to the tablets in my sleep and the subconscious picking up on this?
It could be.
Or was it the unlocking and bringing it out? Because we're talking about the exact same thing
I
Toth has
didn't
been
listen
talking
to
about,
it.
and I didn't consciously read this. I listened to it in my sleep several times.
I didn't read them or listen to it in my sleep, and I've been getting these revelations too. So I think it's both. I think it helps to have been exposed to this material beforehand, but I don't think it's a prerequisite. I think that as you move forward in your journey and you're expanding your consciousness and you're honing your skills spiritually and you're following the path, it will naturally come to you. But it's really neat to see it reiterated. In my case, to see it reiterated in these tablets. Pass to the plane where the sons of the morning live and have being as children of light. Pass without pain and pass without sorrow into the plane where is eternal light. Yeah, death.
I know this for sure. When I get to be about 90, I'm not going to want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
I already don't want to be here. It's I
don't either.
I got shit to do here. I understand
Right.
that, but I don't want to be here. And I think a lot
Right.
of people are saying in the chat room they don't want to be here either.
Yeah.
So I feel you. I feel these people 100%. I'm right there with you. We just got to finish what we came to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what he's saying too is there's no fear of death if you're on your path. There's no fear of
Or even where you're going afterwards because you've unlocked the knowledge from your heart already.
Exactly.
So you know what the other side looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is what this is my original intention for using DMT was to
Right.
be able to navigate the afterlife. That, remember, I told you, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm going so hard with this.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what it was going to unlock, but
Right.
the goal has been accomplished. But so much more came with that. But that was the intention. Just be able to navigate out of the wheel of reincarnation. That's it. Be able to remember my consciousness and who I am after I'm disconnected from my body.
Mm-hmm. And then death is it's not even I don't want to say a release. It's, it's a part of the journey that's celebrated. If you do this, it's not something that you're afraid of. It's not something that you run around trying to avoid. It's not something you try desperately to prevent. And it's not something that you're so afraid of that, you spend most of your life worrying about where you're going to go and whether you're going to go to hell and all this stuff.
Which is what the religions tell you. Your whole life is supposed to be worrying about where you're going to go, and that's it.
Right, exactly.
When you know where you're going to go, the game changes. Faye said something interesting, though, and let me comment on this. She said, people don't fear death. They fear the pain of death. Now, I can tell you from unlocking dozens of my past lives, which most often than not, I've been executed, and executed sometimes in horrific ways. There was one time I was crucified to a tree. It was a different form of crucifixion, but they basically tied you to a tree and nailed you into a freaking tree. It was bad. However, what happens to the consciousness, and it answers a big question for me as to why nature is so cruel. Because you have a lion that eats a deer, and that deer is still alive while the lion is eating the deer. But what consciousness does is jumps out of the body before the trauma. So I'm sure a lot of people have recollections of near-death experiences or car accidents or something like that, and you remember yourself in the third person because that's the fail-safe of the Matrix. That's the way the Matrix was designed. The consciousness jumps out. So let's say you're about to get shot in the head, for example. Consciousness jumps out before the point of impact. So you never really feel it. Death doesn't hurt at all. There's measures put into the Matrix to ensure that you don't suffer that kind of pain, because that's really brutal on the consciousness to do that, to experience that. So that's what I would say to that. And every one of the past lives that I remember, because remember that time we were in Colorado, and I was like, it's really dark, and you're like, you just need to see what they're trying to show you. And it was me and all my different lives being executed, hung, shot, taken out to the woods, killed execution style, you name it. And every one of those experiences I saw from a third person, and I saw the journey from the body to the abyss. And the abyss, it looks like a sewer system. And it's a sewer system with energy. It leads out into this vortex of spinning energy, and that spinning energy, as it spins, it expels the souls into the different chambers which exist within the abyss. And the different places that the souls are expelled at are different lives and different levels of lives. So if you were a really bad soul with really heavy energy, you sunk down to the bottom of the abyss, floated around, spun around the abyss, and then get shot out through one of the lower chambers where you appear as a lower life form. Not necessarily lower life form in the sense of an animal, but lower life form in the sense of maybe a child who's being trafficked in some third world country at some point, and because you were that bad of a person that you come back as something like that. I'm just using that as an example, and this is me extrapolating on the experience, but it's the best way that I can communicate it. So, the point that it was showing me was like, look, you can float up. You don't even have to go into the river. You can float up above the river and actually walk on the sides next to the river of the abyss, and you can exit like that. I mean, it was very crystal clear as to what happens after death. Now, maybe my mind just manifested all of this. Maybe my mind is just trying to explain to myself or make sense of the death experience. But these visions were so insistent. Remember? I mean, you even pulled me out of it. And then I'm like, this is too dark. And you're like, just go in there and it's okay. Just go in there and just see what it is over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, that's not what you drink ayahuasca for. You don't drink ayahuasca so you can experience death 1,000 times over. You drink ayahuasca for different reasons, but that's what it wanted to show me at that particular time. So it was such a powerful experience that I have to call it gnosis.
Yep.
So
I
moving
agree.
on.
First lie at rest with thine head to the eastward. Fold thou thy hands at the source of thy life, solar plexus. Place, and it doesn't like Freemasonry and things like that talk about the East a lot, and how, what was it about the East?
The East is where the worshipful master sits. In the West is where the senior warden sits. The senior warden is represented as the place of beauty. So you have the knowledge or I don't know. I don't know how they interpret the worshipful master. He sits in the east. The senior warden sits in the west. The junior warden sits in the south, which I don't remember what the south represents, and the north is the place of darkness, which is something that I was looking at maybe from like a brain element. So, you know, the north, south, east, and west, east being the left brain, logical processing.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't know. I haven't really thought about
No,
this.
that really does
but
make
there's
sense.
got to be some kind of allegory there to the
The
way
ego
that a Masonic lodge is set up to that's got to do with consciousness.
Yeah, well, the ego lives in the mind, and that's north, and that's the ego is blind. It's 100% blind. It has no idea of what it's doing. A lot of the time, the ego is about survival, and just like we were talking about earlier, the survival complex is what keeps us down. It's what keeps consciousness down. It's what keeps us from elevating at all. And that's what the north, I think, is the ego self just trying to survive. And what he's saying is, you know, use the logical mind, and fold thy hands at the source of thy life. The source of thy life, you know, that's the power within of staying alive. Is the solar plexus. That's your personal power. That's, you know, what's willing your body to keep going. But I don't think he's talking about a survival mechanism, the source of thy life, solar plexus. I think he's talking about your personal power grid, essentially.
I'm looking for one of my Facebook friends who's a Mason, and I want to ask him if he happens to be online. He is online. I'm going to ask him what the different positions of the lodge is.
Like what it means?
What it means. Because I think the senior warden represents beauty. The worshipful master represents wisdom, and then the south is where the junior warden sits. And there's one more that I'm missing. Let me ask him real quick. So continue, please.
Okay. Continue reading?
Yeah.
Okay. Place thou thy consciousness in the life seat. Whirl it, WHIRL, like whirl it around, and divide to north and to south. So I guess that means understand that you have two brains. You have the right brain and the left brain. And the left brain is that logical processor that is kind of the gatekeeper of consciousness, because everything that's coming in from your surroundings and what your thoughts are, all of that goes through the left brain first. And then once the left brain says, okay, this is okay to go into, this is okay to think about, this is okay to process, this makes sense, this is reality, then the right brain can also process it and do something with it. Whereas I think we were talking about this a few months ago when we were going over the CIA document. If you turn off the left brain, then everything's coming in unfiltered. And when everything's coming in unfiltered, then you're prone to mind control, hypnosis, being taken advantage of on a spiritual level, your spiritual energy being siphoned into something that's not going to be good for you. You know, like some of these religious practices, pseudo-spiritual new age guru stuff, it also falls into that category. If your left brain isn't gatekeeping the way it should be, then you're just wide open to believe anything you're told or fall for something that's really going to be detrimental to your consciousness overall.
I want to address something that somebody said in the chat. They said in Masonry, the worshipful master sits in the east because that's the place of light. Yes, that's a place of light and place of wisdom. It is supposedly based on Solomon's temple. Okay, did you get that? Solomon's temple.
Ah, that makes sense.
Okay, Solomon was supposedly the wisest man, et cetera, et cetera. I would argue and say that it goes beyond that, because the temple of Hatshepsut was built just like a Masonic lodge. Anyways, I won't get too much into detail on that, but I think the original Master Mason may have been her Mason. Who, do you remember his name?
Who?
Her lover. Hatshepsut's lover.
Cinnamut.
Yeah. I think that was the original Master Mason, but that's not that's neither here nor there. Because see, what they did, as we talked about in previous shows, is they took the Osirian mystery schools and they turned it into Yahweh stuff, completely reversing everything. But according to Masonry, the sun would rise on the side of the east on Solomon's temple, and it would always be dark in the north. So that's why, you had it set up like that. But again, I think it's all allegory for consciousness. But again, we have to look at Masonry and ask ourselves, if they reversed other elements of Masonry, maybe they reversed that too. So maybe the light actually is in the west and the beauty's in the east, because they got everything backwards.
Well, I think we called it a couple of years ago. We called it a satanic reversal, but essentially, it's what it is. It's a negative reversal to confuse and confound the consciousness and put it in the wrong place. Because if you're looking at everything backwards, then you're going down when you should be going up, and you're going up when you should be going down.
Gata Gata is here. Gata Gata, how are you doing?
Gata Gata.
We mentioned you earlier in the broadcast, and we're just commending you on your journey and your absence, because you've been walking your path and doing your thing, and we're so proud of you and everybody. And M too. M is just on fire. So many people are on fire.
Yeah.
We get comments all the time. Hey, I just did the Ayahuasca guide and I had a wonderful experience. And yeah, it's incredible to hear that. I mean, even total strangers that I didn't even know about. I'm in the DMT and ayahuasca forums, and people ask, "Oh, where's a good retreat?" and this and that. And I'm like, "Here, check out this guide." And people will reply, "Hey, I've been using that for a while. It's a great guide, et cetera, et cetera." So, anyways.
All right. So send thou the one out toward the northward. Send thou the other out to the south. Relax thou their hold upon thy being. Forth from thy form will thy silver spark fly, upward and onward to the sun of the morning, blending with light at one with its source. Now, we're going to have to kind of decode this line by line. Send thou the one out toward the northward, and send thou the other out to the south. Balance the polarity.
Yeah.
Relax thou their hold upon thy being.
Let go.
Let go.
Master it. Don't let it master you.
Right. Forth from thy form will thy silver spark fly, upward and onward to the sun of the morning. Isn't Lucifer the son of the morning?
Venus.
Lucifer, the morning star.
Even in the Bible. Oh, how art thee had fallen, O son of the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, in some translations.
And so
the son of the morning is the wisdom. It's the light in the darkness.
Right.
It's what brings the light. Which is why I don't understand
light bearer
Christianity being so reversed. And they talk about, we're the true light and blah 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 blah, and it's like, well, the light bearer brings the light into the darkness.
Right, exactly. Blending with light at one with its source. What do you think that means? Blending with light at one with its source. It's not merging with, blending with.
The light, remember earlier he was saying the light is inside you?
Right.
The knowledge is in your heart. I think light and knowledge are two things that are interchangeable with each other. So you understand the mysteries by unlocking the heart and going within. And so you're blended at that point. Your consciousness is now blended with the knowledge and the wisdom. So it's the blending of the wisdom with the consciousness.
Right.
Accessing.
You're not blending with Lucifer.
No.
You're not merging with an entity.
Lucifer is an abstract.
It's an abstract idea.
It's wisdom.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right. It's not an entity.
No. It even appeared like that in my ayahuasca experience. It had no form. It was a huge wave of energy.
Right.
That's it. It was abstract. Everything else had a form. Enki had a form. Isis had a form. All of these others had a form. Lucifer, huge wave of energy.
Right. There it shall flame till desire shall be created. Then shall return to a place in a form. That sounds like an ayahuasca experience. There it shall flame till desire shall be created. Because you always come back from an ayahuasca experience saying, all right, this is what I need to do now. You know, that desire to work out more, that desire to drink more water, the desire to fix something about your life, the desire to focus on a mission or, you know, the next level of something. There it shall flame till desire shall be created.
Let me say this too. I went through this too. I came back with a desire to not eat meat anymore. And I screwed myself up by doing it. However, the desire, I think, came from the idea that I was eating way too much meat at the time. So it wasn't coming back and saying, oh, I desire to not eat meat anymore, period. It's I went to the polar opposite extreme because I knew that I was out of balance. So my instinct was run to the polar opposite instead of run to the center.
Right.
So come back and run. Go to the center.
Right. Go to the center. Don't, because if that's what he was talking about, you have to balance these two polarities, not go to one or the other, because then you're off balance. Then shall return to a place in a form. Know ye, O men, that thus pass the great souls, changing at will from life unto life. Thus ever passes the avatar, willing his death as he wills his own life. You know, I think I heard once that people in ancient Egypt, the pharaohs, the priests, you know, the higher classes in ancient Egypt, they always died by their own hand, or if they could, or they died in battle. But if they were old, they died when they were ready to die. It wasn't something that happened to them that caused this uproar of mourning and loss and something they were scared of. They spent half their lives focusing on how they were going to die and what the process that they would go through after the death process. You know, death was just an entrance into a new stage of their life. They really believed that they would die by their own hand, and then they would walk, you know, through the process of getting to a mentee or getting to the field of reeds, and their whole life was spent preparing for that. It wasn't something they were scared of.
Oracle eyes. I mean, you gave a donation, so I'm applauding that too. But what you said is huge and very important. And it's something that I alluded to, but I didn't articulate it like I did on the Facebook video yesterday. Consciousness with only knowledge is incomplete. Knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. Raw consciousness beings must exude wisdom through experience. Boom. Nailed it. That's it. Show's over. We're done.
We can all go home.
We said it all. We can all go home.
Yep.
Well done, Oracle Eyes. That was awesome.
Yes, exactly. If you don't have, you can have knowledge all day long. You know, I've got a lot of knowledge up here, but I was pretty lost until I started having the experiences to go along with it. You know, you can read about this all day long. You can read the tablets. You can read Zecharia Sitchin's work. You can read everything out there. You can read that Book of Ra. You can read the about the Palladians and the Arcturians, and you can know what everything is, but unless you've experienced any of it, it's worthless.
Right. Well, I mean, the way I liken it, it's like a child trying to describe sex because they read about it.
Right.
That's it. And I mean, you could be, you know, a 30-year-old and you've read about sex your entire life.
But if you're a virgin,
you haven't experienced it, you don't know it.
Exactly.
I've experienced a lot, not in this lifetime. I mean, murder. You know, I talked about this being a hitman in a different life. I experienced what it was like to murder indiscriminately.
Right.
It wasn't until I had that experience that I realized how wrong that experience was.
I was a poisoner in a past life. And
Were you really?
yeah.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny, ladies and gentlemen, is every time we have an argument and she's like, let me make you some coffee. I'm like, why are you going to poison
He's
it?
always saying that. I would never poison
I
you.
wonder if you would have, if you poisoned me in a previous life. And that's why I keep saying, are you going to poison me?
That's terrible.
Is it poisoned? Is it poisoned?
I've never even had an urge to poison anybody in this life, especially my twin.
It's got to be.
I would never hurt my twin.
It's got to be a memory.
It
I was
could be.
on with Lucky yesterday or the day before. I know you didn't hear it, but they were talking about how this older couple, they were like in their 80s or something like that, and they died within a couple of hours of holding hands. They were holding hands, and they died within a couple of hours of each other.
Aww.
And I said, oh, that's really beautiful. You know, I hope Shereen and I go like that. And I said, but it will probably be murder-suicide.
No. Ladies and gentlemen, I would never.
And then my
hurt
truther
him.
programming kicked back in and was like, wait a minute. I just put that out there. If they want to murder us, they can murder us and
now
make
they
it look
can-
like a murder-suicide and go,
Exactly,
oh, look,
Chris.
they said this at that particular time. So I'm just putting it out there, ladies. There will be no murder-suicide. That was completely a joke.
I have put spells on him in this life, but never negative ones.
Mm-hmm.
I've never put a negative spell on him in this life. I would never hurt him because maybe I did in a past life, and that's why I know in my heart that I would never do that in this one, because I've learned from that experience, and I wouldn't ever hurt you like that. Listen, ye, O man, drink of my wisdom. Learn ye the secret that is master of time. Learn ye how those ye call masters are able to remember the lives of the past. What were we literally just talking about 30 seconds ago? If you can remember your past lives, that is how you become a master of time. That's how you become a master of your own reality, is you know yourself so well that you can remember your past lives. That's a huge part of it. And some people are like, well, that's, what does it matter? It matters, because that's just as much a part of you as who you are today. It's all one person, and I'm not a fractal individual that, there's parts of me that are living all these other lives and stuff. I am whole. I am one being that's lived many, 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 many past lives. And I can remember probably at this point about 20 to 30% of them.
Yeah. I've thought about this, simultaneous fractal existences, and some people really entertain that and they really believe that. Mm-hmm. The problem is that I run into logically is, what's the point? If you're experiencing everything all at once, how is that building upon anything?
Right.
You have to have a foundation first, and then you have to build upon that
It
foundation.
has to be sequential.
It has to be sequential.
Yeah. It's kind of like ayahuasca experiences. Every ayahuasca experience I've noticed for myself, and I know that you've noticed it for yourself, the ayahuasca experiences may not make sense right then, but a couple of experiences down the line, it suddenly does make sense. Like that part of the ayahuasca experience that you had back in 2012, in 2019 suddenly makes sense because you put them together and they make sense. If they were all happening at once, you wouldn't be able to make heads or tails out of anything.
I'm still having revelations about ayahuasca experiences. The latest thing we've been talking about is Enki's return. And the message that Enki gave me was, don't get involved in the war of the gods. He was very clear about that. We're not involved in the war of the gods. The war is taking place between them, the archons, etc., etc. I think I have figured this out. And this is the first time I'm putting this out there. What he meant is continue walking your path and to hell with all of that. Because if you get caught up fighting archons, if you get caught up fighting demons, if you get caught up fighting all these different things, you are engaging in the war of the gods. You're not here to do that. You're here to go complete a mission and get the hell out of there.
Right.
You're not here to fight. You're here to get some shit done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he was saying. Don't get involved in the war. Just do what you need to do and get out. The war's going on. Remember when we went to Egypt, there was war. And they had some parts of Egypt quarantined, and then a couple of weeks later, a bus blew up, was attacked right in front of the pyramids. Yeah. You know, we went during war. We weren't involved in the war.
Right.
We went and we got some shit done.
Right.
And I think that's why we were able to get some shit done, because there was so much military focus on what was going on out there that we were able to sneak into the temples, do what we need to do, and get the fuck out of there.
They had bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, they weren't worried about what Chris and Cherie were doing. Now, what happened a couple of weeks after that? They started locking journalists up that were just talking the truth on Facebook, speaking the truth on Facebook, saying, "Hey, I went to a bank and I was sexually assaulted." Which that kind of stuff happened in Egypt all the time. We were over there basically just completely trashing on Islam on Facebook live stream. Yeah. We could have very well been caught up and put into a freaking concentration camp and never heard from again.
Prison,
but there was a war going on. And we moved in silence and stealth in a snake-like rhythm to the deepest inner chambers of this self-made prison. On the edge of perdition, I take my position, one hand to the sky, I become the magician. To reclaim the light and break it down like a prism. Better call the mortician, because I just killed him with wisdom. That's from the new album coming out here pretty soon. So yeah.
Great is the secret, yet easy to master, giving to thee the mastery of time. When upon thee death fast approaches, fear not, but know ye are the master of death. Relax thy body, resist not with tension. Place in thy heart the flame of thy soul. Swiftly then sweep it to the seat of the triangle. Swiftly then sweep it to the seat of the triangle. Is that talking about...
Can you go back a couple of lines and reread that? Because I was watching the chat and I really wasn't paying too much attention, but I want to hear this again.
Great is the secret, yet easy to master, giving to thee the mastery of time. When upon thee death fast approaches, fear not, but know ye are the master of death. Relax thy body, resist not with tension. Place in thy heart the flame of thy soul. Swiftly then sweep it to the seat of the triangle. Well, I know... Well, first of all, I just want to say...
That sounds ominous.
First of all, I just want to say, if I drink ayahuasca and I let the anxiety overtake me, and I resist the process of getting pulled out of my body, it's a hellish experience. It's this introspective hellscape where I can't go anywhere, and I'm hyper-focused on my heart beating really fast. I'm hyper-focused on the nausea. I'm hyper-focused on the way that I feel in my body, and it's awful. But if I relax completely and I let go, it's a beautiful experience. You know, it all happens totally smoothly because it is like death. You know, that's why they say it's akin to a near-death experience, because the death process and the ayahuasca come up are very, very similar. According to most people that have used it and most scholars that are into entheogens and studying this. I mean, even Dr. Rick Strassman likens it to a near-death experience.
Daniel French pointed something out. He said the two eyes are the base and the third is the top, making the triangle.
The base of the triangle would be where the third eye is.
It's a great interpretation.
That is a great interpretation.
We have the best freaking audience in
the
world.
do.
We do.
You guys are amazing.
Yeah, people compliment it. Like other shows, they're like, you guys have the best freaking audience.
We do.
We do.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah. We're all, you know why? Because we're all sitting at the same level. We're all eye to eye.
Oh my God.
We're not freaking gurus here sitting up
No.
here trying to go, all right, I'm looking down on everybody and blah, blah, blah. No, no,
I'm
no.
going to teach you
We're
my
all meeting,
wisdom.
we're all meeting eye to eye.
Yeah.
And this is
Holy shit.
how it all comes together.
Josh was spot on. Listen to this. Hold for a moment, then move to the goal. This thy goal is the place between thine eyebrows.
Oh, there you go.
The place where the memory of life must hold sway. Hold thou thy flame here in thy brain seat until the fingers of death grasp thy soul. Then, as thou pass through the state of transition, surely the memories of life shall pass too. Then shalt the past be as one with the present. Then shall the memory of all be retained.
Oh my God, this is just lighting me up. I mean, I feel like I'm getting like pre-flight jitters.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Oh, Globebusters is in the house. What's up, Globebusters? I always have to say what's up to Globebusters. Mad respect to those guys.
Free shalt thou be from all retrogression. In other words, retrogression, in other words, mind wipe. Free shalt thou be from all retrogression. The things of the past shall live in today. Like I said, all the past lives you integrate that into who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Wow.
Which is where the fractal analysis comes in. I mean, that's one thing they do have right, is integrating it into the different experiences. You remember all the different experiences. Now that the veil's been dropped, it's much easier to do that. Before, it was, forget about it. I mean, it took us 10 years to get to where M is right now, you know?
And that's the end of Tablet 13. And that's how it ends. And that's what I've learned from my experiences with ayahuasca, not with other psychedelics, but specifically with DMT and ayahuasca. It's exactly what I've learned, that you got to let go. You have to let that death process occur. I think I've said this on the show before, that you have to not be afraid of dying in order for that experience to turn out well. In order for the experience to play itself out in the correct way, you have to literally say, when you're coming up on it, and when that anxiety's kicking in, when you start getting those pre-flight jitters, you have to literally say, all right, if I die, I die. I'm not scared. And then it rewards you with the experience. But if you're so afraid of that death process, then you're just not going to have the experience. And then you're going to be kicking yourself afterwards, saying, I don't know what I was scared of. You know, why was I so nervous about this? You know, I always say that. Afterwards,
I was
why
afraid.
was I so scared?
I mean, I've talked about this before. It took me 8 months to talk about this. I was afraid of the pyramid. I mean, I really was. I didn't think I was coming back. Remember?
Right.
We had that long conversation, documentation of how everything works, contingency plans.
I still have
cetera.
those documents.
Yeah.
You know,
because
he wrote down exactly like how the radio system works. You know, how everything works, so that if he died, I could still run the network without him. And I remember telling you, well, that can't happen because I can't be here without you. That's not, you're going to have to tell somebody else how to do this, because I'm following you if that's the case. That's not, I can't, this reality needs both.
I was
both of the
so
twins.
nervous when we got there. And, you know, we got the video of us there at midnight, and we're walking into the pyramid, and I was nervous as hell. Once I got in there, though, and the subterranean chamber was unlocked and the Queen's chamber was unlocked.
Yeah, we didn't think, we thought we were just going to be in the King's chamber and that's it. And we get there and he's like, oh, no, we're opening up
everything for you.
Everything for you.
Yeah. There's a subterranean chamber. Queen's chamber's that way. King's chamber's that way.
We'll see you in
the morning when the sun comes up.
The
fire just all of a sudden, boom, lit up in front of me.
Yeah. You had no hesitation at all.
No.
You jumped right in.
Ugh!
I remember. I
All right.
remember. Yeah.
So it was funny because I was like rushing down to the subterranean chamber and I was thinking halfway through, I'm rushing to my death here. I'm like moving quickly to get to the end of the experience. But it needed to be done. It had to be done. And,
Right.
oh my God, we did it. Yes, we fucking did it. You don't understand, ladies and gentlemen. Like I've been dragging my feet on putting the film together because it was more about doing than it was about showing. But it was so powerful. I mean, I don't have words to describe this. And I remember I was in the sarcophagus and I was bawling. Remember when I first came down?
Mm-hmm.
I went up, came down before the energy shifts, before the transfer of energy, the positive and negative charges that were running through my body. I thought it was over. And I remember I was bawling because I was like, we did it.
I thought it was over
It's
too.
been so long. We did it. We did it. We did it.
Uh-huh.
And then boom, hit with that wave of energy. It was the shifting that was taking place. I remember my body was just going out of control.
God.
I mean, I remember this, and I remember holding on to my body, and I remember looking at you saying, "I'm not going to make it. I'm not." And you were like,
You
"I
better
got you.
make it.
I got
So
you.
I've
I
got
got you."
you.
And I was, my heart stopped. Everything stopped.
I had to tell you what you told me at the Temple of Hatshepsut. You go. You do what you need to do. I'll hold you here. I've got you. I'm taking over your body. I've got your body. You don't worry. Just go do what you need to do, and I'll make sure that the tether doesn't break and that you come back.
When I was up there, the only thing, like, it was so weird because I was up there in the 13th. I was in completely plasma form, and I could still see. It was like a looking glass. I could still see the sarcophagus through this looking glass, and this looking glass was fading.
Right.
And the panel was in front of me, and I could see the space that I was in, but I was still, it was like the hole was getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, but I could see the tether, and I could see the tether breaking. And as the tether was breaking, the hole was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And there were 2 or 3 times in the experience where the hole disappeared. And I had forgotten about Chris Geo completely. And I was just there doing what I needed to do. And then it was like, I would remember, hey, wait a minute. No. Remember Chris Geo. Remember Chris Geo. And I remember, and then I would see the hole opening again. And then I could see the sarcophagus, and I could see my body in the sarcophagus. But there were, and my 13th, after like not remembering Chris Geo, when during those moments, it's like, I'm going to finish what I'm doing, and I'm going through the freaking portal.
Right.
And I had to fight with the 13th dimensional self going, no.
Yeah.
Remember, you're not going anywhere. It took a while. Remember, I went up and down, the positive charge, the negative charge. I thought I was going to die during the charges.
Yeah, there was about 30 minutes, 45 minutes of not knowing if
I just
you
knew
were
that
gonna
if
leave.
my body kept shaking like that, it was going to stop completely.
Right.
And I was like, and I didn't realize how small the sarcophagus was because you were in it with me.
Right.
So it became that much smaller.
Yeah.
Intense shit. All right, so let's take a quick break. We'll take some questions. We're not going to take any calls tonight because it's just going to drag the show on too long.
Yeah.
But we'll take some questions for another 20, 30 minutes, and then we will
Wrap it
up. Yeah. So we'll be right back. Can you move out of the way for a second? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the incline to the subterranean chamber, which is right behind us. It's a long way up. It is a long way up, but I wanted to show you the tunnel system that we're working with here.
Yeah.
In order to get from point A to point B, we're heading over to the Queen's Chamber now. So love you.
Travelers, always remember to walk uprightly and circumscribe your desires. As we travel upon the level of time, to that undiscovered state of consciousness, traveling to a place where once attained, no traveler returns. The place of your consciousness which awaits us when we are past.
All right. For those of you wondering that don't know, that's the subterranean chamber of the Great Pyramid. That's the underground chamber. It's been closed off to the public for like 20 years. That's the only HD footage of the subterranean chamber that exists. And we had Chris Everard on the show a few months ago. And his theory was that the subterranean chamber would bring water up from the Nile and transform it through some kind of technology. And we were able to confirm. Now, this was a theory that we came up with as well while we were there. Chris had his theory independently, but nobody has been able to analyze the stones before down there because it's completely cut off. We were able to bring stones back with us. And the stones are limestone made of crystal. The crystals are a particular it's a particular type of limestone that is about 30% crystal. And crystals carry energy and they carry information. And we realized this when we were in Delphi, actually. We went to Delphi afterwards to go see the Oracle in Greece. And we realized we were touching the stones and some of them were not speaking to us and others were. They were using marble. The marble ones did not have the crystals in them, but there was one particular stone at Delphi that we touched, and we're like, this one is vibrating hardcore. And we realized it's because it had the crystals in there.
Right.
So building the pyramid upon the limestone full of the crystals like that was also creating the energy, not creating the energy, but storing the energy within the crystals.
Information.
And then somebody pointed out, the entire sands around there. Also, sand is glass. Sand are crystals.
Right.
So the desert also is carrying information as well.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes deep. It goes really deep.
So
We have a video from the Queen's Chamber also, but we haven't released that yet because we want to save something original for the film.
for the film.
But
yeah.
we found something huge in the Queen's Chamber. So yeah, that's really cool footage. We've got like 20 minutes in the Queen's Chamber. And the King's Chamber, not so much because our equipment was malfunctioning by the time we got up to the King's Chamber. And they call it the pyramid effect, that you take electronics in there, then they die. Where at the Temple of Hatshepsut, all of our electronics were at still 100% after using them for 4 hours straight. So it was a pretty incredible experience. But it was necessary. And we didn't even realize how necessary this was, but it was necessary to go down to the subterranean chamber, activate that, drop our crystal there, so we merge the energies, then move up to the Queen's Chamber, where in the Queen's Chamber we invoke the goddess, merge with the goddess, then go to the King's Chamber so we can drink our ayahuasca and go up to the 13th density. Without the 3, I don't think it would have worked. It was necessary to activate each chamber in there. And it was so amazing how the goddess opened it all up for us. It was incredible. And it came because they asked us, they said, you can film whatever you want, but you can't film you actually drinking, or we just called it meditation. It says you can't film the meditation. You can film everything else. So what I did is I did a toast with my tea, my Egyptian tea, for everybody because, right there in front of the sarcophagus, because we can't talk about this kind of stuff without video. Otherwise we sound like we're insane and we're just making it bullshit. Well, we got the video, ladies and gentlemen.
We've got the video documentation.
The exchange was, okay, you're not going to film the ceremony itself, but in exchange for that, we'll open up the subterranean chamber and the Queen's Chamber so you can have some good footage to take back to your people.
Which was awesome of him, yeah.
Yeah, because I explained to him, I said, look, our people are funding this. They expect something. And he said, all right, here's what we'll do, which was vital to the ritual, but also allowed us to bring back some exclusive footage like that.
Well, we didn't realize that whenever we set all this up, that we were going to be able to be in the underground tunnels and
it was
in the underground chamber.
Yeah.
That was a complete surprise, and yet it played into what exactly we were going to do there, because unless we were in that underground tunnel and in the Queen's Chamber, we wouldn't have been able to drop those crystals.
Right.
And thus, we wouldn't have been able to have the energetic binding that like we did. And so it played into the plan exactly the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
And,
I realized
amazing.
my apprehension to making this film is it was such a traumatic experience for me that it was hard. It's hard for me to look at the footage.
Yeah.
Because it was it really was traumatic.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think after an experience like this, you'd come back on top of the world, but it wasn't like that. It was brutal. It was extremely brutal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that might be why I'm dragging my feet subconsciously. It's like, because I mean, even just watching that just now, I'm reliving it all and realize, I mean, it was hardcore. It really was.
Right. So, to answer some of these questions, because the questions have been pouring in since we started doing the tablets, to answer Eminem, in case she said, in case Chris and Shuri have to go back to Egypt, you don't want them to be stopped.
I don't think we'll be allowed back in Egypt.
I don't think we're going to be allowed back in.
I wouldn't risk going back there.
I wouldn't either. At this point, I think...
not unless we changed our names legally.
Yeah, they've really...
Got different passports.
Yeah, they've really locked that place down. Yeah. After we left, everything seemed to have been locked down.
Yeah.
They hired a new security company to do the security at the pyramid complex, and they've been really beefing up the security around the complex hardcore. So I don't think it would be as easy or as doable to do what we did. I don't think that we could ever recreate the same experience. And we don't need to.
The site's been unlocked.
The site's been unlocked.
It's done.
Now we've got another site we're going to.
10,000 years ago we decided this was going to happen.
Uh-huh.
We had to go from one life to another, to another, to another, to another to get to this
Building
moment in
it up.
time. We got it done.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the next one now.
Yep. And
I wish I could just give somebody all the footage and just say, here, put the film together.
Mhm.
But
yeah, me too.
you know, yeah.
We're gonna do it. I promise, you guys. It will
Yeah.
get done.
You
It
need
has
to
to get
you need to ask
done.
your friend that makes documentaries.
Yeah.
You know, Chris Everard would probably put it all together.
Yeah.
If we gave him all the footage and it gave him like interviews of us, and we just interviewed for like an hour and a half, 2 hours each, and then gave him all the footage, he would put it together.
Yeah, but
He'd put it together in a really awesome style.
yeah, he
too.
would. Yeah, he's really, really good at making these documentaries.
No, it's got to come from us.
But
though.
it's got to come from us.
Yeah.
I mean, we could enlist the friend in Cali, or the friend in Cali and Chris Everard to help with it, but we have to actually do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's got to come from here.
Yeah, it's got to come from the
It's the only
heart.
place that it can come from.
Yeah.
So,
So, you want to go over some questions?
yeah, anything you got for us?
All right. Let's see.
Oh, I saw an interesting question passing through the chat while the video was playing. I wanted to address. Oh man, it slipped me by though. Go ahead and go to one, and I'll see if I can go through and find it in the.
Okay. I need to
About
find one.
Terrence McKenna.
Oh yeah,
That was a great question.
Yeah, it
about
was.
Terrence McKenna working for the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
So there is an element of truth to the idea, but he wasn't working for the CIA.
No.
What happened is Dennis McKenna actually wrote about this in his book, Brotherhood of the Screaming Abyss. And Dennis has been on the show several times before. We consider him a friend.
Yeah.
But if I can speak outside of being a friend and just look at the information in and of itself, I think that some of the stuff that Dennis talked about in the book was a little too personal.
Yeah, way too personal.
And should not have been put into the book. Like
I would not
stuff
have-
that happened
no.
during their childhood
Yeah,
and things like that.
traumatic experiences
There was
and things like that.
it was unnecessary.
Terrence didn't want if Terrence wanted people to know about that, he would have brought it up.
I mean, it had to do with
when
like
he was
sexual
alive.
abuse and
yeah,
things like that.
he would have brought
And
it
it's
up
like,
when he was alive if he wanted
Yeah,
people to know about
yeah.
that.
Other than that, though, it's a really good book.
Yeah, it's
and
a good
he
book.
addresses this in the book. So what happened is that Terrence was sending Dennis hash from Thailand back here, and they wound up getting caught. And Dennis got arrested, and so Dennis went and he started talking and all kinds of stuff. And then Terrence came back, and they came to Terrence and they said, "All right, so we've got this problem with the hash here. You're a really good speaker. We want you to come speak at Echelon." And then he did a bunch of talks for Echelon and things like that. Echelon's not directly connected to the CIA, but I mean, I guess you can make 6, 7, 8 degrees of separation and connect the two. They just wanted him just for his speaking abilities and to persuade audiences in one direction or another about political things. Didn't have to do with anything else that he was talking about. And he maintained some of his liberties in these kind of talks. But again, I don't listen to that Jan Irving guy. He's attacking us. Oh, they revere Terrence McKenna and blah blah blah. I've read about this much of Terrence McKenna, and that's it. I barely listen to the guy. His work was okay, but it wasn't really. I would rather do my own work than listen to Terrence's work. Joker sent another $10 donation.
Aw,
You rock,
thank you,
Joker.
Joker.
Thank you for the love tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, there is some truth to it. But a lot of people try to take this and then spin it and try to make all psychedelics look bad, as if the government and CIA have the ability to go into the plants and program information within the plants themselves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a bunch of bullshit. But there's a very big anti-psychedelic community out there.
Yeah,
No,
there
they're not
is.
very big. They're small, but
Yeah.
there is
Allowed.
allowed. Yeah,
Yeah.
allowed is a better word. And it is what it is. I mean, we had that guy Joe Atwill on, and he told us he was going to come on and talk about his psychedelic experiences.
Right.
Which was dishonest right off the
Yeah.
bat. We get him on the show. He says he's never done psychedelics, but he wants to tell us about all these psychedelic things. And one of the big things that he was pointing to, he works hand in hand with Jan Irvin. One of the things that he was pointing to was this document that the missionaries wrote when they went to visit the natives. And the natives
In
would
South
give
America,
they would
yeah.
give ayahuasca to people before they executed them. And he was trying to say that that's what ayahuasca was used for, to give to people before executing them. Well, they were giving the ayahuasca to people before executing them, if that even happened, which I don't know. I mean, it's missionary documentation. So obviously they're going to be biased
Well, and
towards their own views.
They lied
And-
about a lot of things.
Yeah, and they do lie about a lot of things and make up a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
And the natives don't keep records.
Right.
So
they
we don't
don't
have
need
records of ayahuasca.
Well, they don't
and
need
stuff like
to.
that. Yeah, exactly. So if they were giving them, the way that I see it, is it was a mercy kind of deal. Like, here, take this so you fully understand yourself, you fully understand where you go
Yeah.
before we execute you for this crime that you committed against somebody. Or,
Mm-hmm.
But, it doesn't add up. Now,
It's an act of mercy. If
the
anything.
military did try to use psychedelics as mind
as
control.
a mind control technique.
But what they found, and there's video footage of this, is the soldiers they would give the LSD to would walk around and not obey orders.
and appreciate the beauty.
It did the opposite of mind control. So they could not control their soldiers while on
Right.
psychedelics. Which
They
was
concluded that psychedelics cannot be used for mind control purposes. They may be able to be used for interrogation purposes because the people are so open-hearted
Yeah.
and so honest about themselves and about their lives. But as far as a mind control technique, they couldn't tell somebody, okay, now, we gave you this LSD, now go kill somebody.
right.
They just wouldn't do it.
yeah.
They wouldn't, because when you're under the influence of psychedelics, especially the plant-based ones, you can't hurt other people
Right.
because you understand fully what that means.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like with cocaine or heroin or PCP or any of these other drugs that dull and numb you out to where you don't realize what you're doing to somebody else. When you're on ayahuasca or mushrooms, you understand fully everything that you're doing to another person.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, psychotropic medication is a mind control.
That is a mind control
They realized
technique.
they can control people's mind by that, which is why they're pushing it.
Right.
So, yeah, this is another reason why I say become your own shaman. Why I say remove the guru factor from all of this. Because you do have situations like Tim Leary, who was steering people in one direction
Yep.
and saying, tune out, drop out, et cetera, et
Oh
cetera.
yeah, it was
whatever.
turn on, tune in, and drop out.
Yeah, that was to try to quell some of the protesters of the Vietnam War so they could
Distract
continue
them.
to distract them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they were causing a problem for the establishment, which they should have. I mean,
Well,
Vietnam
people
was
were
the biggest
refusing to go to war.
travesty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were drafting people to go fight this war.
Right.
That's where it turns wrong, because every other war has been voluntary. You
Right.
volunteer to go to Iraq. You volunteer to go to Afghanistan.
And if you're a big enough dumbass to sign up for it, then yeah. But
Let's not do that, because
I'm
I've done
sorry.
that before.
I'm
and
sorry.
We have veterans that listen to the show, and we have to understand our own journey. Our
I
own journey is
understand.
that we were brainwashed at one point too.
yeah, I know.
So, I was like that though.
Yeah.
I used to think like that too, and it's easy to think like that. But
I'm sorry to everyone out there.
no, it's okay.
Who
It's
might
okay,
be a vet.
because that comes to a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
But we have to understand people were brainwashed and they're breaking their programming, and they come to
Right.
Beyond the Veil to break that programming.
That's true.
So
I apologize.
yeah, no, there's no need to apologize. So back to the Timothy Leary and Terrence McKenna thing. So that's why I say, take in information, but discern it and have your own experiences. That's the most important thing. And that's been the big message with Beyond the Veil. So, yeah. And that's why they hate us so much. because we remove the guru factor. You don't have
Right.
to go as MCs, as Gata sees, as all these people who have gone on their own journey see. You don't have to go to the Palladians. You don't have to go to the David Wilcox and the Corey Goods and the Bashars and all of these people to get the information. Because what is that? That's just Christianity just repackaged. You have to go to the priest, or you have to go here, you have to go there.
Yeah.
No,
You have to go to the gatekeeper.
you go beyond the veil.
Yeah.
Where's the veil? The veil's here. So, as Toth said, it's locked in your heart. You unlock it, go beyond the veil, and get the information. All we can do is just tell you there's information there. And this is the information that we've brought out from ourselves. It may not be the same information that you bring out from yourself. You may bring out something completely different. And that's great, because then you come into the chat room or call into the show, and we put all our puzzle pieces together. No gurus,
Right.
no shaman. You and the plants.
Right. Exactly. So, in my opinion, I don't think when Terrence said there were, see what the anti-psychedelic people point to is this one time that Terrence said, and what they usually do is these anti-psychedelic people is they'll cut out everything except him saying the following. Then they recruited me. They leave out everything preceding that, and they go straight to the part where he says, and then they recruited me. Now, what was he actually talking about before he said they recruited me? He was talking about the mushroom and how the mushroom has a consciousness.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
He was talking about how the
Oh.
mushroom has a consciousness, and the elves, and he was talking about the elves and how the mushroom has a consciousness, and he said, and they recruited me.
Well, the big thing that he says that I really like is culture is not your friend.
Right.
And he's absolutely right. You come full circle to this idea, though, because you leave culture behind. You stop identifying by culture, race, et cetera, all things that divide. We become human. And then you come full circle around and realize, okay, culture is charming. When we went to Greece, different culture, it was charming.
Yeah.
Egypt, different culture, somewhat charming, a little overwhelming, very overwhelming, but charming nonetheless. It creates charm, but it doesn't identify. So that's the completion of the loop there that I think a lot of people miss. And I don't even think Terrence ever talked about it. But he was right on the opening of the path, which is culture is programming. So we remove all of that, and then we remove that I'm going to go bomb those people because they're this, and I'm going to go bomb those people, and I'm going to hate those people because of this, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of wisdom, but at the same time, be your own guru, be your own shaman.
Be your
ultimate
own
message.
Yeah. Listen to your own heart and your own inner wisdom, because it's there. You just have to unlock it within yourself. It has nothing to do with anybody external to you. We're not your guru, and we don't want to be your guru, because your inner truth is going to be different than my inner truth, and it could be so different that if I told you what you need to do with your life and what your truth should be, then I could actually harm you by doing that.
Yeah.
That actually could throw you off completely of the path that you're supposed to be following in this life. That could throw you off your mission. And I don't want to do that.
It's a good point.
So
let's move on, because I want to wrap it up here in a few minutes.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is a good explanation for that "they recruited me" thing. Far from it being absolutely clear that Terrence is admitting to be some kind of agent here, it is transparently obvious to anyone who knows his work that he is joking about being the alien ambassador. And to understand what he means by that, simply pay attention to what he has to say about mushrooms and alien intelligence. In short, what Terrence was telling us in the Ezelin clip that all these anti-psychedelic people are going on about is that he was recruited by the mushrooms, by what he conceived of as the alien intelligence working through the mushrooms at La Chorrera. That's what he was talking about. So no, he was not a CIA agent. I don't think he ever was a CIA agent. The people at Esalen and all of these other institutions, they actually really hated having him speak at their events because he was always bashing the new age guru archetype. He was always bashing the idea that you should follow whatever Ram Dass says or whatever, Timothy Leary says, or he was all about find your inner gnosis and follow your heart, follow what's inside of you. Think for yourself. Do all of this for yourself. Don't follow anybody. Culture is not your friend. I'm not even your friend on a basic, level as far as that's concerned. So
Em asked if we received instructions on the next step to the shutdown. And, I have ideas, but we're in a very interesting time right now that the Archons are screaming. I mean, they're fucking pissed. And they're throwing all kinds of misdirection and throughout the spheres. I mean, physically through people in the ethereal. Damn it, our fucking internet dropped. Okay.
All right, we're back.
I just restarted the stream. Yeah, I think that might be, I talked to our streaming provider and they said that might be the cause of the out of sync issues.
Oh.
Yeah, I hope not. But anyways, we're going to wrap it up here in a minute, so hopefully all is good. But back to, hey, Matt is in the house.
Hey,
Matt from Trinidad. I need to get back to his email. I got a ton of emails I got to get back to. So guys, I'm sorry, Secret School and Matt, I got your emails. They're pinned up to the top of my email. I just need to get back to you guys. So, what was I saying before this? Oh, instructions on shutting down.
Yeah.
See, there's so much misinformation flying around right now that it's taking that much more strength and discernment to be able to figure it out. So I don't want to put something out there and then have to turn around and go, no, I was wrong about that. Even though I have no quorums about doing that. But I don't know. I have information. I have to discern it first because there's two very polarized sides to this Enki situation here that we have. Number one, AI trap. Number two, he's coming back to help.
Or three, like somebody brought up in the esoteric group this past week, what if there's two?
A copy. Well, I've talked about this before.
Yeah.
That they've made copies of everything.
Yeah.
So sometimes you think you're interfacing with Toth and you're not interfacing with Toth. You're interfacing with an AI copy of Toth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's difficult to tell. It really is because it's the same personality, but what they're saying is like the action you should be taking is actually the opposite of what you should be doing, or it's misdirection down a rabbit trail that you're not supposed to get off the main path, and it's telling you, oh, here's a shortcut, and it's, like the Roadrunner, where it leads you right off a cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm questioning everything that I think I know.
Me too.
The Cobra body situation that we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, is that really a real body?
Right.
But other people are remembering it too. I mean, like Mike from Trinidad, his wife saw her real body, saw the Cobra, saw the taper, saw all of that. So, I'm leaning more towards that. But at this point, I got to question everything. And the other side is really trying to confuse things right now because the Archons they want to maintain control of the Matrix, even though things are being deleted, systems are going back into balance, and all this. They're trying really hard to keep it off balance. And if they can get us and the people that are on the mission with us to go in the wrong direction, so I'll give you an example here, and this is just arbitrary here, but I've got two thoughts. Enki's here, and it feels like Enki. I'm feeling the energy. It really feels right. And he's bringing a device that we need in order to do what we need to do next. But then you have the other side that's saying AI deception, AI deception. Well, imagine if it is really Enki and he brings a device and we don't utilize the device. We failed. That's it. Done.
Right.
Game over.
Exactly.
Or let's take the opposite perspective. Let's say it's a copy of Enki. And the whole idea of him bringing a device is the deception. So we pop up into that device, and it's a soul-catching device.
Or it's something that allows the AI to to get involved in something that it's not supposed to even be
And
touching.
then we're completely off the path.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important right now. Discernment. And before I trust my heart.
Right.
I trust my heart.
Yeah.
And as long as we stay on the path, everything will be fine. She's with us too. So she's guiding a lot of this. She's here.
I guess. Yeah. She is.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it's we're at a very critical time right now, and it's going to keep on getting more critical as we get closer and closer and closer and closer. So forgive me for being in the middle, but that's where I am. And forgive me for not being more certain, but I'm not certain yet. I'll let you know when I am, though. And then there's some stuff that we have to keep kind of hidden because the other side is really, really, really trying to get information.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah, instinctively, I know to keep the next site secret.
Yeah.
Until it's done.
And dates and times and all of that,
Because they tried to hijack. They tried to
they
hijack
did.
the last portal big
They
time.
really did.
Yeah, and we almost fell into it.
We really did.
Yeah.
I think if we hadn't, this is why we had to use the ayahuasca in 3 different places. We couldn't just go to the Great Pyramid and do it. It had to be a successive thing where we drank at the Temple of Hatshepsut first.
Yeah, that recharged us.
And that recharged us.
The
then
Temple
the
of
Temple
Isis,
of Isis at Philae.
That was the revelation.
Yeah.
It wasn't a revelation because we knew this. It was the true understanding. I
Right.
mean, really understanding how the Greys operate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was 100% crystal fucking clear
Right.
at the Temple of Isis.
Mm-hmm.
Do not take anything up in that portal
Right.
with you. And there was a lot of entities trying to get up there with you.
I would like to say 72.
Yeah. Yeah.
The demons. They were.
Oh, I saw the demons of Goetia surrounding us.
Oh, I saw them too, and I didn't realize that those were demons. I just thought,
I thought they were Greys.
These are Greys.
Uh-huh.
These are
but
bad entities.
Aaron Donahue, the remote viewer, he remote viewed the demons of the Goetia, and they looked exactly. Remember, we were seeing the Greys, but only the top of their heads, and that's the way Aaron Donahue drew the 72 demons of the Goetia. It was the fucking 72 demons of the Goetia surrounding us.
Exactly.
We had the Sekhmet firewall fully activated.
And we wouldn't have had the Sekhmet firewall activated unless we had gone to Sekhmet's chapel in Karnak.
And remember, the priest was there to greet us?
And the priest was there to greet us.
Come, you must see Sekhmet.
You
She's
need
waiting
to see
for you.
Sekhmet.
She's waiting for you.
And then he did the Ankh
With
on our
with
foreheads.
A sycamore and said, now you must go see Osiris.
And then now you see Osiris. I mean, everything happened in a certain order. And had we not followed that exact order, it wouldn't have worked.
Mm-mm.
Everything had to line up exactly right in order to do it safely, and prevent the hijacking from taking place. Because at the last minute, even at the last minute, I had an allergic reaction to a hibiscus tea. Never drank hibiscus tea before. My whole face swelled up, and they were telling us to go to the
before we went
and go to the emergency room.
We went to pharmacy after pharmacy trying to find this shot.
Yeah, and we finally found one that was willing to give me a shot, and they gave me the shot, and we literally had an hour to spare.
And then the kitty cat came.
And then the kid, and I really didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, because I was still really swollen. You can see in the video my lips were still pretty swollen, and I remember Chris telling me, "Well, baby, if you can't do it, it's okay. We'll figure something out." And I was like, "No, it has to be done tonight. I just don't know how we're going to do this." And then I felt something rub against my leg, and I looked down, and there's this homeless kitty cat, and it was Bastet, and she told me, "Don't worry about it. We're with you, and we're going to be with you every step of the way, and both of you are going to be safe, and we're watching over you, and we're going to be working with you. Everything's going to turn out just fine." And that gave me that extra confidence that I needed to do the pyramid. And everything worked out exactly the way it was supposed to. And at any point, had we not trusted one another 100%, or at any point we let the ego decide to take over, or at any point we decided to be prideful or think that we could do it all by ourselves, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. And that's why we're so not secretive. It's not secretive.
Seeing
It's,
Sekhmet in her form like that,
mm-hmm.
I saw the head of a lion creating a barrier around the sarcophagus, and she was fierce.
Yeah.
I've never seen her move that quickly before, but she was just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning in circles, and these things were outside of the firewall, and they were looking in.
They couldn't get in.
And they didn't have a reaction to it.
No.
They were watching, but it's not like, it's almost as if they knew. They knew there was no way they were getting in.
Yeah.
They didn't even try. She just kept them. Oh my God, she's powerful.
Yeah,
and I never had any experiences with her until we went to Egypt.
She's one hell of a program.
Yeah.
And we're not saying these entities are actual entities.
No, she's the fire goddess. She's the firewall. She's the firewall.
She is the program that keeps the mission safe. And keeps those entities from getting to those higher dimensions with us.
That's incredible stuff.
It really was. And this next site is going to be, I think, even more difficult than Egypt was, and that's why we're being not secretive. I don't want to use that word because it's not what it is. It's protected. We feel the need this time to really protect it.
Yeah. Because
we were ignorant of the need for protection when we went to Egypt. We didn't know that it was going to be, that they were going to try to hijack it. We didn't understand all of that. We just knew this is our job. This is what we came to do. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But now we're more cognizant of that. And so
the masks have fallen.
Yeah.
Now it's all been revealed. That's why I grip this microphone with a fistful of steel. You know the damn deal. When I break the glass ceiling, X-ray vision for these bitches steady scheming. Repeating all the lies that keep you locked in this prison. I thought I told these motherfuckers that the ibis is risen.
So Achilles pointed out, fire goddess is Pele.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Pele
you know what happened?
is
You know what
Sekhmet.
happened? As soon as we were doing a live stream on Facebook in Sekhmet's temple.
In Sekhmet's chapel.
Sekhmet's chapel in Karnak.
Uh-huh.
And at the exact same time, the volcanoes in Hawaii erupted.
Mm-hmm.
When she gave
eruption,
when she gave us her blessing.
Uh-huh.
Boom.
Yep.
Fire from the lion came out.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't make this connection, but other people made the connection.
Other people did, yeah.
If it would have happened in Egypt, we would have made a connection 100%.
Right.
Still, I'm on the fence about this connection. I don't know if it's really a connection or not, but it's coincidental.
It's very coincidental.
When Sekhmet ordained the mission and said, okay, and she said, don't fuck it up again.
Yeah.
She said, don't fuck it up again.
Apparently we've fucked it up before.
Yeah. The volcanoes erupted. So, you can decide on what you want to do with that information.
Yes. So I'm looking to see if there's any more questions because I know you want to wrap it up. Do you see any?
I don't know. I'm all hyped up again.
Yeah, me too.
It's been a while since I've been able to go back into that frequency because, like I said, it was so traumatic that I haven't really been thinking about it. But it's time, I guess. There's more activation taking place now, and it's like, all right, prepare for the next step.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. I'm thinking, the next 6 months are going to be very, very active. We're going to have to journey. We're going to have to journey often. And it's going to happen in conjunction with all these changes that we're making to our bodies and getting our bodies in order and preparing ourselves physically. because that's another thing. We weren't prepared physically for Egypt at all. But as soon as you put me in that sarcophagus for 30 seconds.
That was
and
longer than 30 seconds.
It was about
2.5 minutes.
It was about 2.5 minutes of being in that sarcophagus with Chris having the specific intention to heal my body. And what he meant by that is I was 80 something pounds. I was constantly having stomach problems. I was constantly sick. And I just was having so many problems eating. And since we got back from Egypt, I'm now like 110 pounds. And I've never been at a healthy weight. In the 10 years that we've been together, I've never been at a healthy weight, and I am now. And my body is operating normally as opposed to what it was before we went to Egypt. So I know that that intention manifested itself. And learning how to manifest that intention is what you've applied to your own body since we got back. And that, I think that has to do with why you're losing weight so quickly and why you've been able to just jump into getting your body in order, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I focused on you, but I didn't focus on me.
Yeah.
I could have. I should have.
We both should have.
But it
Focused
worked.
on you too.
Look at you.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different.
Mm-hmm.
It worked.
Faces all round and yeah.
Matt from Trinidad said he's got some important information for us, and I want to get him on the show here next time we do a show. So I'll coordinate with you, Matt.
Yes.
We're not going to take any calls because it's we don't want the show to go 4, 5, 6 hours again. We're going to wrap it up here in a minute. Anything else, or should we just wrap it up on that?
You know, I'm wondering if we should just wrap it up because I don't think. I'm not seeing any other, hardcore questions. And I am getting kind of tired. I'm
really excited about this new album.
I know.
It's coming together
Me
so
too.
well.
Yeah,
I don't know where this. I know exactly where it is. You know what I'm doing as I'm writing the lyrics? I'm focusing on that. I'm sitting right here writing the lyrics, and I'm saying, "Give me the words."
Well, and he's got when. It's not that we're slaves to our transits, but you have some astrological transits going on right now, and that's when a planet or a celestial body is lining up in a certain way with where a different body was when you were born, and that's called a transit. And when we go through certain transits, it makes us more creative. It makes us able to tap into things spiritually, or it prevents us from doing that. And you've been riding this wave for the past 2 or 3 months. You've been riding this wave of self-improvement on a physical level and creativity on a spiritual level. And that's why making music suddenly, a year ago you couldn't make music.
No.
You just couldn't tap into that.
I wrote like The Ibis's Return about 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And Look Into My Third Eye. Like a lot of the stuff I've written a long time ago, it hasn't come together until now. Mm-hmm. But I'm just writing stuff now. I'm like boom, 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 and like I wrote this really
flowing out.
I wrote this badass verse yesterday, and I recorded it. And I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome. And then I wrote another one, and I'm like, oh my god, this is way better than the first one I wrote. Shit. Mm-hmm. Now I got to go back and redo the first one. It's cool to be in that zone, though. It really is cool. So I guess on that note, I should probably work on some more music. This album is gonna be fucking epic. I mean, it's the energy that's in it. Mm-hmm. The words that are in it. Yeah,
it's going to be. It's already incredible, and I don't think you're gonna stop at 7. I think there's gonna be at least 9 or 10. Songs.
You think so?
I think you've still got a few songs that you haven't even thought of yet, but that now that Neptune has gone into a new house for you, it's all going to start flowing out now. You know, all the things that have, I mean, Neptune takes a long time to go through houses. It can take 10 to 13 years to go through these houses. And it just today went into a new house for you. And so you're going to, it has a lot to do, Neptune has a lot to do with our dreaming, intuition, creativity, and in the certain house that it's in now, it's going to really unlock a lot that you haven't been able to really tap into until now. So on that note,
I'm so excited. I wish I could play some of this stuff for you guys.
I know, me
I don't
too.
Wanna,
But
I
you
just
don't want to
wait
ruin it
until it's finished.
Yeah.
And put it out there, which I'm hoping will be in the next couple of weeks. I don't know. I got 2 songs that need third verses, and that's it. And then mixing, mastering, boom, put it out there. Yeah, I'm hyped. And the beats are just, I found a producer who's fucking epic. I mean, this dude is like, yeah. I played that other song the other day, and I trashed that beat and used one of the other producer's beats, and oh my god, it's just like modern and dubsteppy. It's got a lot of wow, wow, wow. It's got a lot of Egyptian type of samples in the background. I mean, this dude really captures the spirit of everything that I'm trying to deliver. So yeah, it's I'm excited. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, anything else?
Nope.
No. All right. Thank you for hanging out with us, and I'm hyped, man. I'm hyped to be with each and every one of you. I'm hyped about the next journey. I'm so glad I didn't go through that portal. I really am.
Yeah, me too.
Because there's more that needs to be done. So kiss the one you love right now. You never know when the last time is going to be, and we'll see you even further
beyond the veil.